Hi, I'm here. Shice. Anyway, yeah, it's a pretty eventful. Well, not exactly eventful, but well, I mean, yeah, it's not that eventful. It's just that I have classes every day now, and I have to wake up at 9. That means I'm pretty much tired every single day. What's up? Hello, Eddie Rosa. Welcome. Welcome. How are ya? Just drinking water. Hold on. I'm good. How are you? Pretty well, not exactly tired because I get to wake up just a little later today, but pretty much like on the weekdays I have to wake up at like, I don't know, 8. Well, I guess that's pretty standard. People wake up at like 8 all the time to go to work, I guess. But I'm not used to waking up at fucking 8 in the morning. Why is this bottle not closing properly? Is it? Okay, it is. It is. It is. Anyway, what am I doing? Alright, you know what I should do? I should put on a video that I want to see. I want to see the Apple Vision Pro real quick. We can draw while we watch the thing. Let's see. Oh look, this is. Hold on, one moment. Hold on. Hold on, hold on. Hold on. Damn it. One moment. One moment. One moment. What's that one video? The Apple Vision. Right, Apple Vision Pro. I wanna watch Marcus Brownlee review it. It's fucking 37 minutes long. I should totally watch this. Hold on. Let's see. Unmute. Can I have a separate window, please? I need to make a separate window real quick. Windows capture. YouTube. This one. There we go. Alright, let's watch this while we...
Right. So you've seen the unboxing. Now it's time for the breakdown. What is using the Apple
Oh, right, I
Vision
can't
Pro
minimize it.
actually like?
Hold on. Let's...
This is easily one of Apple's craziest, most radical, possibly dystopian products of all time, and I have
Let's move this down.
of thoughts here. Like
Below
I've been
the
using
comments.
it for about a week now. There are
Below
some
the
parts
chat,
of this thing
actually.
that are
Hold on.
absolutely incredible,
Where
and
is
some
the
other
chat?
parts that
Okay,
feel
it's right here.
weird or borderline unfinished. There are all kinds of new technologies, from a new operating system to infrared eye tracking to virtually reconstructed versions of you. I feel like there are so many actually new things that you have to understand in order to get a sense of what this headset actually is and what it does. So I'm going to break this down into two parts.
Alright, I'll just move this here, move this here.
About using the Vision Pro. It's everything I've learned from the past week of wearing and getting used to this thing every single day. But I'm also working on a more wide-ranging, possibly more existential review video. But let's just start with the more hardware fundamentals, right? Like, what is this thing that I'm holding?
It's a VR. It's literally a VR headset.
Pro, at its core,
VR/AR headset. There's nothing else to it.
Now, Apple would never say that, and they probably won't like that I'm saying that word. You know, I made an entire video about why they refuse to use those words, and they're calling it spatial computing instead.
It's a VR headset. Just say VR/AR.
Really high-end virtual reality headset. It's something we've seen before, right? It's got displays and lenses and speakers and fans and buttons, and this is a form factor. This is a thing that we have seen before. But before I even turn this thing on, there are clearly several things that are a little different about this one. So first of all, it's made of metal. Lots of metal and glass.
Oh, that's definitely gonna be heavy.
But heavy materials, relatively speaking. So there's this precisely machined aluminum frame around the outside. And yes, those are intakes for fans at the bottom, and then vents for those fans at the top. On the right side,
Do
there's a
normal
digital
VR
crown
headsets have
that can be
fans?
pressed
I don't
in
think
or
so,
turned,
right?
and then on the other side is just a single larger button, so kind of basically the same 2 buttons as an Apple Watch. And then when you get a little further back on this band here, these little pods with downward facing grills, these are speakers, which are pointed straight at your ears and work surprisingly well, though of course it also means that people around you can hear a little bit of what you're hearing. There's a little bit of bleed, and I have a lot to say about spatial audio, so stay tuned for that.
That's not
But
good.
the main event is at the front. There is an enormous piece of glass, which, yes, is very easy to fingerprint and smudge. And then behind that thing, there's this outward-facing
I hate
OLED
that.
display.
I
and
actually
a bunch
hate
of
that.
sensors all the way around.
That's literally why
Outside-facing
I don't
sensors
use
that come
phone
forward,
as often
sideways,
as
and straight
one might
down.
think.
There's depth sensors, infrared illuminators, LiDAR scanners, and just regular old RGB cameras, all being processed by an M2 chip and an R1 chip inside this thing. And then maybe the craziest part, inside the headset, there are a bunch more sensors facing your eyes, tracking your eyes in real time for all the eye control and everything that comes with that, and also then to display a representation of your eyes on the outside of the headset. Kinda, we'll get there. But overall, when you put it all together,
Yeah, I saw the
you get
thumbnail.
a very
It's not like what
well-made,
it looks
very
for.
high-end,
It's not like how it's
but
advertised.
also
I call it
pretty
false
heavy
advertisement.
computer to wear on your face. So officially, this headset with this solo knit band, when I weighed it, showed up as 638 grams, which some of you on Twitter have already pointed out is actually slightly less than the plastic Meta Quest Pro. But that Quest Pro also has a lot of battery on the back of your head as a sort of a counterbalance. So the weight distribution is very different. Also, the Quest Pro is not that comfortable.
But
anyway.
is it good?
But the point is, this, for Apple, made the choice of taking the battery off of the headset, which means, okay, now there's nothing on the back of your head, so you can wear it and lean up against things, and that might be an upside, but that also now means you have to deal with this cable all the time running up to your head, and the fact that it's very
the battery life is like fucking 2 hours.
So this is the battery.
I don't think
as you saw in the
be
unboxing.
like.
If you haven't
I
already
don't
seen the
think
unboxing,
that's
that
not
just
even.
went up.
I don't think that would
I'll
be a
link it
problem
below,
considering
but
you're
this
gonna have
battery
like
is a
wires pretty
surprisingly
much
small
like forever.
3,366
Not like
milliamp
forever, but
hours.
like.
I say surprisingly small because a normal battery bank of this size you might expect to be 10, 15, 20,000 milliamp hours. I suspect there's a lot of heat insulation happening here, but it comes with a non-removable 4-foot cable and a proprietary connector at the end of the cable that will twist and lock to the headset. And so the lock is really solid. It makes sense that it's not just straight USB that could get disconnected easily. Once you connect it, it starts glowing, and then it starts booting up, and there's even a little
fucking damn it! It's neat. I knew it.
A little under a minute to turn
it's
on.
fucking
So there is
neat.
no on or off button or switch anywhere
it's
on this
literally
headset. Kind of
my
like
break
AirPods Max, something like that. So if you ever
for the
take
weekends,
the headset off
and
put it
here
down,
you
it will
are.
enter
Damn
a
it!
standby mode after some time, but it won't turn off. If you want to turn it off, you literally have to twist and unplug the cable. That's the only way to actually turn the headset off. Now, famously already, the battery life with this included battery is not super long on this headset. 2 to 4 hours is actually realistic for what you can expect for just like this built-in battery. But that's also kind of right in line with a lot of other VR headsets. Battery life on VR headsets is not that great in general. If you do want to use it longer, the only way to do that is there's a USB-C port on the battery, and you have to plug the battery in. So you could plug the battery into the wall for infinite battery life, or I guess you could plug it into like you could daisy chain another battery into the other pocket or something for even longer life, but yeah, 2 to 4 hours. Now at first it seemed weird to me
basically
that the
it's
port is on
shit.
the same
It's literally
side
the
of battery as the non-removable cable, but I think it's because
this is literally the laptop that I'm using right now. God damn it. Like, it's 2 to 4. Yeah, it's gonna be 1 hour. No fucking way. Like, I bought my laptop. It's advertised pretty much like 4 hours of battery or something like that. Actually, no. I don't think they don't even like mention my laptop battery power. But yeah, it says I did a little research. It said it should last about like 4 hours. Like, but that's like we last 4 hours by doing nothing on it. I start using my laptop for like pretty much anything, and that battery is like fucking an hour and a half at most. So yeah, no, I expect this VR headset to be like fucking an hour worth of battery life, because like, I mean, come on, it's a VR headset. It gotta render like a lot of stuff, like spatial stuff.
Default to putting this battery like in your pocket, probably in your back pocket. So even if it's plugged into the wall, it can still be in your back pocket. You're just going to want to get a longer USB-C cable. So there are no controllers that come with this headset. Now it does support other input methods that are like game controllers and mouse and keyboard,
Unplayable.
and those can be incredibly useful.
Unusable.
By default,
Useless.
the primary input method for everyone using the Vision Pro is your eyes and your hands. So the first time you put on this headset, it goes through this calibration process.
It's literally
And it's
Ready Player
pretty
One
interesting.
or
So the
whatever
first
the
time you
hell.
put it on, it first adjusts the distance
the book
between
to
the
a movie
lenses,
that I'm
physically
referring
moving
to.
it inside the
It's
then it
I
does
knew
sort of a hand
fucking
scan, so
hell.
it understands your hands. And then you go through this process of basically looking at a bunch of dots all the way around the screen and then tapping your fingers together to select them. Kind of feels like an eye test or something. And then you're in. So first thing you're going to notice is you can actually kind of put your hands anywhere as long as the headset can see this. Just your fingers touching together. So there's a lot of pictures of people like using a headset with their fingers like out in front of them, pinching like that. But you actually don't have to do that. It's such a wide angle because of the sensors facing forward and sideways and down. You can kind of just rest your hand anywhere in front of you, in your lap. As long as you pinch like that, it can generally pick it up, which is impressive. So you're pinching to control anywhere in that 180-degree bubble in front of you.
I don't know, man. I totally want like one of those like control, like the hand controller thingy.
Doesn't seem that impressive, but this is actually a peek at the first really impressive thing about this headset to me, which is it seems to have incredible spatial positioning lock. And like, it's really hard to show, like have you appreciate this through a YouTube video. Reviewing VR headsets is hard, but like turn around in the room you're in and like picture a wall or a window just appearing locked in place in 3D space in your room. And
Look
no
at
matter
PS
how much you
Vita.
move your head or move around,
You know, I
it
never
stays
really used
exactly
PS
kind of
Vita. I just
floating
know
where
the
it's supposed to be.
PSP,
But when I say
and
floating,
I
I
stuck
think
with
you're
that for
picturing
pretty
like
much forever.
a soft
It's my
float,
core
but
memory.
It's locked.
My
And that's how
personal
it
core
starts.
memory.
So now you're in Apple's new Vision OS. I would describe this as kind of similar to iPad OS, but way more glassy, and like, of course, with the extra dimension of 3D space. So
To be
hitting the digital crown
fair,
will always get the app drawer back in
glassy
front of you,
always
and
feels
then
nice.
simply
Except for the,
look at the icon you want.
you know what?
And
I
put your
use
fingers
both
together
Mac
to
and
select it
Windows,
and
and
open
let me
that
tell
app.
you, Windows is better. I don't
Scrolling
like the
is basically as you'd
yeah, I
expect.
take it
You
back.
just kinda
Like
pinch
Windows,
and grab in the air and then pull
Windows
as if it's on a
operating
string,
system is
and
much
physics
better
let
than
you pull
Mac.
things
I'm
through
gonna
the
be
air.
honest. I don't
It's
like
pretty
Mac.
intuitive. It's
I
responsive.
don't like the iOS.
It's fluid.
Hello,
Sometimes
Billy.
it's kinda
Welcome. How
bouncy
are ya?
even. I would say the biggest adjustment is only being able to control exactly what you're looking at. And I don't think people realize how often they're controlling things directly at
Jesus
other
Christ, neat.
computers and other UIs.
I was going to
But with
ask
this,
why there's a
you
bunny
can
girl,
look
but never mind.
at
Ha!
the button to select it,
Ah,
and if you look
it's
at the
the-
next
it's my
thing you're
most
going to do, you're
recent
no
work.
longer controlling the button. You have to look exactly where you're trying to interact with things. It takes a few extra brain
Yo,
cycles
what's
to
up?
remember to always be
Welcome,
looking
welcome.
exactly
I'm just,
at the
yeah,
thing
I'm
you're
literally
controlling.
just
So when you open a window of a Vision
seeing
OS
this
app,
because
any one of the
I'm
default
interested in
Apple apps
how
here,
this plays
it
out,
locks
the
into
Apple Vision
place,
Pro.
It's floating there.
thingy.
It kind of looks again like an iPad app, but very
I bet you
glassy,
can't even
like this
play
frosted
games
glass
as this.
around the
I don't
UI
think
sorta
you
lets
can
see
play
through a
games
little
as
bit to
this
color behind it.
in this
And it even
VR
sometimes
headset.
casts a shadow
It's
on the
not made
ground
for
in the
game.
correct
I know
C
that for a
space, so it
fact.
really
Literally, the
solidifies
only reason
that
why
it's
people
floating
would
in front of
buy
you. All of this makes it feel
a
like the
VR
window
headset, it's
is in
for the
space
games.
around you.
That's
Then,
it.
if you look at the
That's
bottom of
literally
the
it.
window, you get a little bar. You can always just look at that bar and pinch to drag it around. So drag it forward, backward, anywhere you want in X, Y, and Z space, and then let go, and it just stays absolutely locked. And then you can look at either bottom
Wait, what am I
corner to
doing?
resize to make it bigger or smaller. And
This
then
one.
finally, there's a little X at the bottom. You select that. That closes it. So that is the basics of Vision OS and just using an app. Now, this entire time, by default, and almost any time they can, pass-through is on, which means you have the headset on, but you can see with the cameras right through to everything around you. And I think this is where Apple really wants to normalize the term spatial computing, because it feels like augmented reality. It feels like you're always able to see.
It's
the
just
space around you.
VR.
But technically, it's not actually AR because you are still looking at a reconstructed version through a camera feed of the world
I
around you
interact
instead
with
of
all
the
types of
actual world
women.
around you.
Oh, the yandere,
But
sendere,
maybe it's all just
dandere,
semantics. I will
kudere,
say this is the best
and
pass-through
other stuff.
of any VR headset I have ever used, and it's not even that close. Now again, it's so hard to get this through a YouTube video. It does have screen recording built in, so I'm gonna try to use that, but imagine putting a headset on and not really feeling like you're looking at a screen with the real world. Because of the pixel density, because of the 90 hertz refresh rate, and because of the impressive dynamic range of the cameras, and the correctly adjusting shutter speed,
You know,
you just almost
I don't get this. I don't get the Apple Vision Pro.
just feel
Like,
you're looking
I
at
can
the real
literally just
world,
look at my
not through a
phone and I
headset.
get the
Also,
exact same
pass-through
result.
is so close to real time that I could
scares
legitimately
me.
interact with all kinds of things. I could catch items flying at me. I even tried playing ping pong. It was easy, no hesitation. So officially, the R1 chip is doing all the processing of all this stuff and adjusting the shutter speed for different lighting conditions and always keeping pass-through latency under 12 milliseconds, which is the lowest in the industry. But it's really combining that with how close to reality the colors and brightness and everything are that keeps it feeling kind of real. Basically, the only noticeable restriction is super close-up items and objects can get a bit blurry, and then you can't quite make out like really small or fine text, so you can't like read an email or tiny text on your phone in your hand, but you can absolutely text people or read your notifications while keeping the headset on. If you've tried other VR headsets, you know how impressive that is. It's really good with the tech that exists now for VR headsets.
The real question is, can you play games on it?
Still take the headset off and be like, oh, it's way brighter in here than I thought it was. Either way, that's all pass-through, but if you ever want to fully immerse yourself, I mean, it is a VR headset after all you gotta do.
The real question is, like I said, can we play games on it? And they play ping ping. Right, they play ping ping, the famous table tennis game called ping ping.
Until you dial it all the way up to
Ching 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 long ping pong.
So all of the windows you might have had
Ding,
open will
ling,
still
ling.
stay stuck where they were, but everything you're doing is just on the moon now. So yeah, there's a couple environments Apple has built in here. Most of them relaxing, scenic locations, like in California somewhere, or
fucking California. Why can't you be in like fucking what?
They're not quite
like I don't know. Why can't you be in like
just short of
fucking I don't know.
like
Why
they're the most
California?
realistic
Jesus Christ.
digital environments.
Why
that
can't
I've
you be
seen.
in like
So
fucking
then, the last
Canada
two
or Alaska or like
big
Colorado or
parts of the
something?
UI. Control center.
Why
So the only way to
California?
get to
That's
control
crazy.
center is to look up, like, and you can't just look up, but you have to physically turn your head up and look at this arrow that appears above you. So once you see that, you select that, and then you get your control
You
center.
know, you said the
for
boomer
things
came
like,
from bending back with him do that much. Do you turn that section of Bruce spine into a
screen
view?
recording and into a Mac? But the other big quirk is text
You don't.
input.
You just don't get it.
So you might be wondering, how does text input work with no physical controllers? So there's basically three ways to do it.
You just
So
draw it with
let's
your
say
fingers.
You're in Safari and you want to go to mkbhd.com. You really want one of those shiny new Chevron hoodies for the rest of winter. Great. How do you do it? So the first way is to literally hunt and peck, poking the keys on the keyboard that appears in the air in front of you. So this one is tough because it literally only reacts to your pointer finger on each hand. So you actually can't type fast like with home row or anything like that.
Oh, that is so stupid.
Not great. The second way, though, I think is actually kind of good. It's at least faster.
Okay, maybe I'm shitting on it too much, so I feel so it seems like I'm a hater, but like
to select it. So just looking at
I want things to be fast, you know. Like when he says slow, I was like, oh my
how
god.
fast you can type like this if you actually know your way around a keyboard pretty well.
He gave scoliosis. Isn't scoliosis like when the spine bends forward? I mean, yeah, it can bend backward, but usually when you talk about scoliosis,
literally just look up at the microphone and
you talk about when the spine bends forward. So basically, this is reverse scoliosis.
Pretty quick, if it's a URL that you can actually say out loud. So, what can you actually do with this thing? Like now that we know what it is, it's the M2 chip, a computer on your face with the displays and the lenses inside and all sorts of sensors everywhere. What can this thing actually do? And I feel like the most common way to phrase that is,
can it play games?
App, because we feel like we need some sort of justification to spend $3,000-$4,000 on this thing. Like applications made the iPhone what it is as we know it. Like apps made the iPad. So what is the app situation on the Vision Pro?
Sounds like a magic spell. The Wingardium Leviosa, Accio,
the first is apps that are built specifically for the Vision Pro.
Avada Kedavra.
Awesome experiences.
Avada
There are a few
Kedavra.
of those right now. And then there are all the other apps, which basically are iPhone and iPad apps that happen to be compatible because the developer didn't opt out. And the first kind is way cooler. So these are Apple's stock apps here that come with the Vision Pro. And so these are all, of course, made just for Vision Pro.
This is definitely for like the investors, but I don't see how like the normal people would use this fucking Apple Vision Pro.
Super glassy frosted window and shows the colors of what.
Dude, we're in like the hyper capitalism stage of America. No one would buy this because everyone is worrying about their fucking rent.
Same thing with the Notes app and the Settings app. Very glassy, almost looking like an iPad app in the air. Just
we're coming out of the like we're like in the middle of like the consumerism era where like people buy stuff because they can.
Which they have built entire environments inside.
But like it comes to a point where pretty much everything's fucking expensive, so they really can't afford like a fucking 3.5K headset, not tax not included yet.
With a full 180-degree video, and Alicia Keys walks right up to you and starts singing right to your face. It's crazy. There's also the Photos app, which will let you look at like panoramic photos, for example, in this fully immersive view.
I mean,
so you can
yeah, but like
to full screen, and then it gives you.
We have Snapchat, and no one fucking uses
Snapchat. It feels
Snapchat.
like you're like looking into a window of your own photo and looking around. It's kind of incredible. And then there's also some other really fun third-party apps that I've tried that were built ahead of time.
Like I get
is a good one.
I get that it's cool and all with like the AR/VR stuff, but like
constellations would normally be. You can like look at it a little longer and it'll pop it out. You can
I don't really see any use
to
for
get
it.
more information about it.
As a
great idea.
As a broke boy, I don't see any use for it. It doesn't make my life easier.
App. I don't know if I'd ever use it, but basically it lets you load 3D models into the space you're in and mess around with them. Take them apart, view them in actual size. And this really takes advantage of how good the placement lock is on the Vision Pro.
To use our hallucinating
afterwards. Really gets you a better understanding of the scale of things that you don't get to see up close very often. And then Keynote
I guess
is another funny one.
This thing can be good for like educational
go
purposes.
Through and edit a Keynote just like normal if you want to.
But like for the norms, I don't think so.
Whole environment for practicing your presentation skills. So you press that and it says, "Oh, would you like to go to a conference room or the literal Steve Jobs theater?" So you can rehearse talking to your audience with your keynote slides behind you. It is genuinely incredibly immersive. And there's already a bunch more apps like this in the App Store already at launch that are specifically built for Vision Pro, so they'll take advantage of its various strengths.
The eye screen, I should.
Are any of these killer app? Not really. I mean, I don't. If you're looking for any one of these to be the reason why you spend like $4,000 on this headset, I don't think we have that yet. But then at least there's all the other non-native, but technically still compatible apps that are in the App Store. And these are going to look just like iPhone and iPad apps. Actually, there's a pre-installed folder on the home screen when you get this thing, literally called Compatible Apps. And there's a bunch of them from Apple here. They look exactly like iPad apps. I'm surprised actually that more of them aren't fully built out to take advantage of Vision Pro, but like Apple Maps is just the iPad app. And so it would be cool if there was some like fun augmented reality overlay, walking directions type stuff, but nope. It's all the
I got pudding. Yeah, that's it. I literally got pudding. It's hot. Damn it. It's hot. Alright. I guess we'll take a little break and we're gonna eat some pudding. Hold on.
that you would find if you open this app on your iPad. And you can go to the App Store and search a bunch of the names of apps you already know and love and find them by name and grab them and they'll work.
Oh, there's Cut the Rope, so we can play games, but what games are we talking about?
Notable exceptions. No Netflix app for the Vision Pro. No YouTube app for the Vision Pro. No Spotify
trash, unplayable.
Vision Pro.
Fuck.
Apple
Really?
has a kind of a contentious relationship with a lot of developers right now, especially some of the bigger ones. And so some have made the active choice to opt out. They're like, we don't want to be there. This won't be a big enough platform to
No
matter to
YouTube,
us to
no
justify the work.
Netflix. That
So
that's a
now I
goner.
totally
Like
get it, but also now
that is a fucking horrible decision. Like I cannot express how horrible of a fucking decision that was. No Netflix and no YouTube. Like seriously, come on now. But then again, people wouldn't be buying like 3.5K just to watch YouTube or Netflix. But you know, like not including those two is horrible, man. Alright, I need to see her. He's gone. Don't worry, Sarlads. He's gone. How are you? It's been a while.
as a Vision Pro owner and someone who's using it, I'm like, it's kind of a bummer. I really wanted to be able to watch like a Netflix show offline, download it ahead of time.
God damn it! Why is times 2?
She can't do that now.
Been busy. I figured.
For now, for the
class
record, you can
season
use
or
the
school
browser
season
and
starts.
anything that would work in the browser. So if you pull up Safari and you get a full screen 4K YouTube video going and locked in space or even in an environment, it looks great. It's razor sharp. Like I could totally watch YouTube videos like this, but you will definitely be missing like the features of having a dedicated app. That's crazy. Like offline video. Honestly, to me, the killer app of the Vision Pro isn't just an app. It's actually the ecosystem. And we knew this was coming, but the second you log into a Vision Pro with your Apple ID, immediately it starts pulling all the services and all the stuff that you're used to from all the other Apple devices you already have. And I said this before the Vision Pro was announced. I was like, this is the most obvious strategy for Apple because there are lots of people out there who have never considered buying a VR headset that are considering only this one because they have an iPhone and this is the one that works with the iPhone and none of the others are particularly close. So all of your iMessages are already here, all of your photos are already here and loaded up and backed up. All your notes are already at your fingertips. You already saw the Keynote app. But okay, easily my favorite feature is connecting to your Mac. Right, so anytime your Mac is in front of you and it's turned on, hit that arrow, and then there's this little icon to become my Mac's virtual display. So I click that, and then pick my Mac, and it pretty much instantly, it actually blacks out the display of my Mac, and then turns that display into a 4K window inside of the headset. So now, my keyboard and trackpad still work, even if it is a desktop, the keyboard and the trackpad still control everything. It needs to be bigger. And you can continue using it just like a normal computer, but with the ability to make your new 4K monitor as big or as small or close or far away as you want.
What in the idiot? Oh yeah, there's like so many things on my screen. Holy shit.
Open up and place
I forgot. I'm sorry, but like there is so many stuff on my screen right now.
So, like, you can have your Mac
I'm usually not like this, but I figured I'd change my stream a little.
A Safari window or messages,
at least make it like people fucking watch my stream.
And then your keyboard and trackpad can move
bad marketing.
seamlessly between them all to control all of them. This, to me, as a Mac user, the ease of use for setup to make this happen, this feels like the biggest game changer, like the most compelling, futuristic feeling use of this headset to me, especially on a plane. Oh my god, I can't tell you how many times I've had an awkward conversation because like I'm editing a video on the plane, the person next to me sees I'm editing a video of myself and it's kind of weird and hard to explain, but I'm picturing putting the headset on, the display blacks out, but now I can do all the editing I want, and I can make the screen as big as I want. So I've really enjoyed using that feature.
Yeah, but now you look even weirder because everyone can see your fucking hand motion and shit. Like, what is he doing?
So aside from typing on the real keyboard on whatever window is open, if you want to control something, you have to be looking at it. Again,
like I know privacy is good and all, but like you just make yourself the center of the attention, man.
Monitor only. From the Mac, one virtual monitor only at a time. So if you usually run like a dual display setup like I do for Final Cut Pro, big preview on one side, timeline on the other side, you can't do that. You have to use the big one monitor version of your setup. All right, so you might have realized I've left one thing out this whole time. One thing, you could call it one more thing. Sure, it's one more huge, crazy thing, but it's kind of the defining characteristic of this product, and that is personas. So in all the advertising you've seen of Vision Pro, there's these eyes on the outside of the headset that looks like they're kind of in like a
Oh yeah, that
like in a
now we're
dark
getting into that,
astronaut
the
helmet type of
advertisement.
thing. Easily the most memed, most unique aspect of this headset, right? It's the only headset with an outward display, and I mean, it's very, very prominent in those videos. But in real life, as you've started to see from some of my footage, it is very different. And I think I figured out why. So first of all, it's not actually see-through, right? There's a whole bunch of computer in between me and you right now, so the eyes aren't on the outside. It's a representation of my eyes based on what all the sensors on the inside are seeing. It's reconstructing it on the outside. So those sensors are tracking at 90 frames per second, and
That's
they
not
give you
bad.
optic
At
ID,
least it's not 60.
which is it's how you log into the headset.
60
and
is
keep things
horrible.
Secure. It's basically the same as Face ID or Touch ID. It's just looking at and identifying your eyes. And it also powers the one beta feature of this headset, which is personas, which is, it's the most impressive and weirdest thing about this headset at the same time. I'm calling it right now. So the purpose of the eyes on the outside is really not for you, the wearer of the headset. In fact, you'll never see it, but it's for the people around you. So when you're in a pass-through
it's
mode,
blue. That's
your
disgusting.
eyes will shine
Ew.
through to indicate that you wearing the headset can see the person outside. So that right there is already pretty unique. But then when you're in something immersive and you can't see what's around you, it covers up your eyes with this sort of like a blue, purple, glowing animation. So that intuitively makes sense. You can see the eyes when they can see you. You can't see the eyes when they can't see you. But crazily enough, there's also a feature where if you have someone who's outside the headset looking at you, talking to you, and you are in an immersion, but you want to talk to them through that, they will kind of appear through the fog of whatever immersive environment you're in. So you just start talking and looking in their direction. It detects that and sort of parts a little
you
bit
at
of the
least show
fog,
that, please?
and that person's eyes
Oh,
will show
like
through
that.
the fog. It's pretty decent. It basically only shows one person at a time, and when this is happening on the outside of the headset, it shows a little bit of your eyes poking through the purple and blue glow.
Oh, that's
As you can
uncanny.
see,
Oh, that is
it's
so
all
uncanny.
working. But
Hold on,
also,
I need to
think
rewind that and zoom it in. Holy shit, that eye thingy looks so uncanny. Hold on.
you start talking and looking in their direction, it detects that and sort of parts a little bit of a fog, and that person's
You have to
eyes will
see
show
the
through
eye.
the
It's
fog.
so
It's pretty
uncanny.
decent. It basically only shows one person at a time.
Hold on.
And when this is happening on the outside of the headset,
I don't know if you
it
can
shows
see
a
it.
little bit of your eyes poking
Like
through
that.
the
Oh my
purple
god, look at that.
and blue
That's
glow.
crazy.
It's, as you can see.
Oh,
it's,
that is
it's
so
all working.
uncanny.
But also, I think it looks nothing like the eyes from the ad. So, in an effort to make the
like it,
eyes
that's what I'm
as
saying.
presentable as possible, two things. First of all, this screen is actually behind a lenticular film, which I didn't even realize that from the initial media they've published, but if you've ever heard of that, it's sort of what gives it like this 3D depth. You might have seen this on other like holographic displays and stuff, but the point of that is to make the eyes appear to be sunken into the display, like on your actual face, instead of like glued to the front of the headset, which would look a little more weird. But then two, to represent your actual eyes, they've built in a way to scan in and create a digital representation of your face, which is called your persona, and it looks like this. So to get those eyes on the outside of the Vision Pro headset, you have to do something called registering your persona. This is how it creates the digital version of you that includes your eyes that will show up here. So let's do that now. It's actually kind of a cool process. So I'm gonna put it on, and hopefully the screen recording works so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Hit the digital crown, I'm gonna go to settings, and you can do this when you first set it up, but I'm going to persona, and I'm gonna hit get started. So let's refine my hands real quick. This is capturing detail from the front of the headset of the hands in front of me. Once it's done with that, it's gonna ask me to take it off. So,
And then put it in front. Yep.
Hold Apple Vision Pro
Scan.
iPad.
They're getting your facial
Keep your
data.
arms and shoulders relaxed.
They're gonna sell that spatial data for money.
my face shows up like Face ID.
Slowly turn your head to the right. Now slowly turn your head to the left. Now tilt your head up. Then tilt your head down.
I don't know. I kind of not like this process.
Next,
But then
let's
again,
capture your facial
people set up like
expressions.
fingerprints and
Smile,
stuff, so what's the difference. I personally don't use fingerprints. I'd rather type in like 6 numbers.
Now raise your eyebrows. Close
Now
your
his
eyes.
face will be in AI sus films. One can imagine. Oh yeah, about that fucking Taylor Swift sued someone or like is taking like
I will do
AIs
that.
to
So
court or
now
something like
they have
that.
a menu that says
Taking it to court
creating
because someone like
persona,
not Photoshop, more like
and it
used
says
AI
it's
to
in
put her
beta,
in
and now
sus films.
there's my persona right there. Kind of uncanny.
Yeah, that is
The
uncanny.
hair's a little bit different, but the face,
Oh, that
wow.
looks
Wow,
kind of
So
uncanny.
there's different lighting. You can choose it to always be in studio lighting and always be in contour lighting. I'll just leave it at natural and hit next. You can change the color temperature of your skin tone. Cool to warm. Make them around there. Brightness, darkness.
Oh my gosh, I use fingerprint lock on my phone.
around
I don't use it.
there, near the middle.
Typing in 6
Next.
numbers. It just
And then I can add glasses.
It's
So
not
if I
like
typically have
faster, there's
glasses,
barely
which
any
obviously I
difference, but,
wouldn't be able
like,
to wear in the Vision Pro, you can still look
I don't
like
like
you have
it.
glasses.
I just don't
anytime
like
you're
it.
on that FaceTime call, and then next.
My phone from Chinese brand
Save.
Huawei or whatever the
That's
hell the
it.
brand is. I knew it.
So I think now
Huawei, I think. It's gotta be Huawei.
you should see my eyes.
There's only one brand. It's Huawei.
Maybe. And that's the thing. It barely shows up. You can barely
This
see
is too rich
my
my
eyes
blood.
when I'm wearing
Real.
the headset. Now I've tried a couple other scans subsequently, so I've tried.
Oh, so I'm
different
thinking
lighting
of playing
conditions, I've tried
Power.
different
What do
backgrounds,
y'all
simple
think?
backgrounds, tried
Or
different
Lethal
shirts and things
Company.
like
I
that.
don't know.
It
No.
doesn't really ever appear any
Yeah, I don't
brighter.
know
I
if I
think
should
if you have
play.
a darker skin tone like me, just don't expect the eyes to show up very brightly on the outside of the headset. It's pretty subtle. Even when it does show up, it's a little weird looking. The eyes are a little too far apart sometimes. They're a little dim. You see like one eye at a time. It's kind of weird. But that persona though, whew, that is some pretty interesting stuff. It's crazy that this is actually a real thing being shipped. Like first Meta started doing it, now Apple's doing this. This is again. It's
Oh man,
technically
remember
beta,
fucking
so,
Meta like
I don't know,
doing
there's room for
their own
improvement,
thing.
but it still
It's
works.
crazy.
But as of right now, I feel like this.
The fucking
is
Mark
both incredibly
Zuckerberg taking a
impressive
picture next to the fucking
and
Paris Tower. Like,
slightly
oh my
unsettling.
god.
Like it's very impressive that this thing.
10
this
billions
thing on my
for
face is
that
tracking
fucking pictures. That's
every-
crazy.
All these little micro expressions and little movements.
If you
from
want
my
to send me
eyes,
data,
my
I should
cheeks,
get
and
90% of
my
time.
mouth
Honestly,
and
that's so
everything,
real.
But at the same time, it's just not quite human. It's right at the edge of the uncanny valley of I'm not looking at a person. So,
Because it's just 3D Mario.
but the crazy part is you can now use this persona as your camera feed for any apps in Vision Pro that require a front-facing camera, like FaceTime. And so I've been using FaceTime a few times in the Vision Pro, and it is, technically speaking, incredible. So I've made a few FaceTime calls in the past few days with some fellow reviewers who you'll probably recognize from their personas who are also testing the Vision Pro. And universally, once we all got past the shock of, oh my god, it's you, it looks like a digital version of you, this is crazy, I've never seen anything like this before. Once we got past that, there is a ton happening here. So you can see the FaceTime windows literally appear as just that. They're just like glassy windows floating in space with people looking through them. And then the angle that you look into the window is going to match the angle that they see you looking at them. Meaning, if we're all in Vision Pros on this call, unlikely, but hear me out. If we're all in Vision Pros, and you've got a bunch of people on this FaceTime call, so there's somebody to the left and somebody to the right. If I look to the person and make eye contact with the person to the right, the person to the left sees like the side of my head because I'm looking at somebody else. That's already pretty cool. And then the same thing is true for hand gestures. So we tried this out.
It's not cool, it's
Turns out
expected.
You can
That's what
reach out and
yeah.
make hand gestures that are tracked
The
by
FaceTime is super
cameras
uncanny on
in this
Vision
bubble in
Pro.
front of you, and
Really?
they show up.
I mean, to be
at
fair,
the
yeah, they're
correct
using
angle
like the fucking
towards
models
the
instead of like a
person that
real
you're
face.
gesturing at, so not towards everybody else on the call. Oh wait, that's okay. Good test. So wait, Justine, do you see this?
Yes.
And
I
Brian,
don't
do
see
you?
that. I don't see that, Marquez.
Now wait. So now Brian, do you see this?
Now I can see that, Marquez.
And then on top of that, spatial audio here is incredibly well developed. So again, you're on the call.
It better be.
The voice of the person to the right comes from the right side. The voice of the person to the left comes from the left. But also, you can just pick up and move the window around, and that angle will match where the people are in the room and where their sound and video comes from. If I put you on the other side of the room, it sounds like they're further away. And if I turn up the environment and bring them into like the moon,
cool,
or
I mean, yeah,
some
I
other
guess like
3D
you don't need to
space,
use
it
like the
actually
controller,
sounds much
like the
more
thing that
like
you
I'm in a
hold, the
gigantic
controller
space
thingy. But
with
like
no
I don't
echo
know, I
versus
kind
in
of
the
want
actual
the
room.
controller
It's
thingy
all
because I want to
very
like
subtle,
hold
but
something,
very
you know.
well considered. So once you're in this a while, you start
Like
to
yeah,
notice
it's
all these
immersive to
little
like
smaller things. Again,
do
it's
stuff
not
with your hand, but
quite
like
human-like.
I
It's
want to
not like looking at a
feel
video
it.
feed of a human
I want to
face.
feel like I hold
But
something.
it is still like it has a lot of like this would be the best avatar anyone's ever made in 2K. Like no one's ever done a 2K face scan and had it look this good. But it's still not as good as like a perfect reality. You've heard the
It's a
uncanny
Far
valley
Cry.
thing before. I think the number one weakness for the avatars or the personas that I've seen is hair. So basically everyone I've talked to has like a frozen lump of hair instead of flowing realistic hair. And that's true about all flowing things. Like however your hair was when you did the scan, it's frozen that way. And so is any necklace you're wearing, whether it's crooked or not. Or I guess technically also any makeup you had on or however you looked when you did the scan. Maybe that could be a good thing. Maybe you did a scan when you were looking all dolled up and then you get on a 7 a.m. call and you still look perfect even though you look like you just woke up in real life. So I guess there's that too. But anyway, all that is to say, FaceTime. FaceTime is the most well thought out, like most futuristic Vision Pro experience. It just is. So I'll end this video with this. Now you know.
I think this is like the
what it's
closest
like
we get to
use
hologram before
and
like
operate
becoming
the
an
Vision
actual
Pro.
hologram,
But
you
there's
know.
still a lot more to consider.
Like, we're
when
looking
actually
at
considering
like a
if you
3D
should
model.
buy and own this thing, from the use cases
Like, you know,
to
you guys get what I'm saying, right? Like, this is pretty damn close to a hologram. It's just that it's in our eyes instead of like in a real world thing. Like it's all in the headset. Like you get like yeah, I'm gonna assume that you understand what I'm trying to say.
the things that work well and don't work well, the philosophy behind it, the prices, all of that stuff. That's what's going to be.
Why would it even need
for
holograms
my
anymore?
full review.
Yeah, like
there
it's
are
all in the
parts of this
headset
thing that
anyway.
are absolutely amazing.
I guess
unparalleled,
I guess
best I've
with-
ever seen. But
when
the
it
reason
comes
it's
to
so
holograms, like
interesting
at
is
least we don't need
because
the headset.
It's actually a
I
young
think we're
category.
past
Like
that.
we're
I mean-
so used to this slow.
I mean, no, like
growing
holograms
evolution
is better
in mature
than this
categories
because you
like
know we don't
smartphones
have to
and
wear a
laptops,
fucking
and you always
helmet
see
to
the
see it.
comments talking about how tech
Just
is
like
so
flying
boring.
cars. Yeah,
But
flying
now they're
cars is
actually
just
jumping
so
into something
stupid.
risky
Such a
that's
stupid
actually
idea.
fun, and there is downfalls and flaws, and it's fun to actually weigh the pros and cons. So I'll be expanding on all these way more in the full review, but I'll leave you with this. I've got my upsides and downsides to Vision Pro. It's been a week. Upsides, some of the stuff that's the best I've ever seen in a headset: immersion, placement in space, eye tracking and hand control, pass-through, ecosystem, and spatial audio. And the downsides: weight and comfort, the eyes on the outside, app selection right now, battery life, and price.
You can't even play
So the full
Steam
review still
games.
works.
It's so stupid.
Definitely get subscribed.
Anyway, what should I watch next? Unboxing. You know, yeah, we'll watch some unboxing.
All right, it's finally here. This is the Apple Vision Pro. This is the beginning of Apple's spatial computing journey. Their first headset, AR, VR.
It's just VR.
wearable
It's
face
literally
computer,
just
whatever you
VR.
want to call it. And this is the unboxing. So everything that I show you guys in this box, it's going to be a representation of what you would get should you decide to spend the $3,500 that it takes to get one of these, or in this case actually $3,900, because this is the 1 terabyte Vision Pro. You'll see the accessories.
Oh my! Of
you'll see
course,
it
there's
booted up for
variation.
first
The
time,
fucking Apple
and
Vision
this is very
Pro,
much the
Apple
beginning
Vision,
of
Apple Vision
our,
Pro Max
Apple
Plus,
Vision
whatever the
Pro
hell
investigation
labels.
and series of videos. So definitely get subscribed to make sure you're among the first to see that when the rest of those come out. So, big box, but the headset is relatively small. Shout out to Jerry Everything for the knife. And inside, This is a really soft box.
This looks so
Whoa.
bad. Hold on.
And this here is a third little box. So, this is an incredibly flimsy box, but I'll just take this one out. So the three things we have now are the Vision Pro headset in this box, the
Those are some ugly
Vision Pro
boxes. I didn't even pay
Zeiss
attention.
lenses, so these are optical inserts.
Ah,
if
I
you have
didn't even pay
prescription,
attention.
Then these
I'm just
come in the
listening
box,
as I
and they're
draw.
magnetically attached to the headset, so if you wear glasses, you can still use the headset. And this is the optional $200 extra Vision Pro travel case. This
200?
this is a whole lot of stuff.
What? 200 for that bag? No way! I'm genuinely surprised. Fucking 200 for that dinky ass bag. Holy shit! No way! No way people is actually gonna buy. No fucking way. I'd be laughing my ass off in front of them for buying that bag. Like, no joke. I would definitely laugh in front of them. Oh my god. If anyone ever buys that, or yeah, if I ask them like, oh, did you buy that? And then like if they say, oh no, someone gave it to me, then that's fine. But like if they say that they actually buy that, that's crazy, bro. What the fuck? 200 for that dinky ass bag.
I'll get to that in a second.
What the
I'm just
fuck
gonna
is
leave that
this?
right here. But this is the headset itself. It's gonna slide. Yep. Out of this.
Now
So
we're
this
saying
is-
Apple, you paid
I
Apple
mean, it's
just
bigger
to
than a
review.
Mac
That's
box. This might be bigger than a Mac
capitalism is
Studio box,
crazy.
but there you go. And it's got all the pull tabs. I do expect pretty good packaging here. This is such a high pressure first gen product for Apple, so I'm expecting pretty good packaging for this introduction to a first gen thing. Take the tabs off.
Oh yeah, this is a first gen Apple product. I forgot. It's its own thing. Instead of like the fucking iPhone like 26 or something.
No, it's like a shoebox. Okay. So there's the headset. So the headset comes with this little cover on it, and it's dressed up with one of these bands. This band right here is the one that you see in all the commercials. It's this really soft, stretchy fabric material, and it's in this sort of cardboard head. This is
looks
the
so bad.
Solo Knit band. There's another band, though, that I'm pretty sure comes with this that is called the Dual Loop band. So put this to the side real quick and see what else comes in this like shoebox size box. So this
That
pops
back
off.
right there should have been like $20.
It's quality. And then
What
we're
the
into
fuck
the
makes it
inside,
200? No
which
fucking
is
way.
A design by Apple in California.
I'm still so
pamphlet.
surprised about that.
Oh, I bet there's
200 for a
there's
bag. That's
oh,
like
there's a
fucking
microfiber too. Okay.
like mini Louis Vuitton brand or
Then there
something.
is the
Apple is literally the Louis
Lightsaber
Vuitton of
cushion.
like the
I think you get two of these. Yeah, there's
technology
one
stuff. That's
thin
literally it. It's a
lightsaber
designer
and one
brand.
thick
Apple
lightsaber. I'll get to
Apple
that
should
in a
be
second.
classified as a
And
designer
at the
brand.
top, there's a lot of explaining to
Like,
do. Some more
seeing how
heavy
expensive their
Vision
shit
Pro
is.
paperwork. And this is the dual loop band. So this is the second band that goes both around the back of your head and over the top of your head. We'll try that out for comfort over the Solo Knit band. And then there's your power. So the battery that comes with the Vision Pro is this thing right here. It's all very white. Everything in this box is either white or silver. It's pretty heavy. So this smells pretty new. It's got this white braided cable, and I don't know if Apple's even called this MagSafe, but at the end of this cable is one proprietary connector right there, and that connector is what plugs into the side of the headset, and this is the battery, the 2.5 to 3 hour battery that comes with Vision Pro. It says on the back actually 3,166 milliamp hours. I know a lot of phones that have 5,000 milliamp hour batteries that feel much lighter than this, so I'm curious why this feels so heavy, but that's the battery. And then in order to
God,
get more than
it's
2.5 hours or to
it
charge
just-
the battery,
I don't know. It
you
feels
have
so
the cable,
rip off.
USB-C, and the wall brick. So let's see what the wall brick says. I hope it charges fast. 30 watts. So not super fast, but this is a 30 watt brick, USB Type-C, and then a C-to-C braided cable. Okay, that's it for the inside of this box. So now
That's
let's
it?
go
That's
over these
literally it?
accessories. So okay, let's do the paperwork first. This is probably the most common
Fucking
stuff.
Christ.
Everyone's gonna get this. This is a little booklet of what's in the box and a sort of a first.
I know for a
now's all the,
fact,
pairing
like
it to
some
your
fucking
iPhone,
Chinese
putting it on for the
kid
first time,
working in a sweatshop,
connecting
like
the straps. I'll show
got
you
like
guys
fucking
this. Oh, and even
not even 1,000, probably like
how
500
to
bucks
store the cable
for
around the battery.
yeah,
So
out of
apparently
like the
you do not wanna wrap
3.5k
it
that
vertically,
these
but
things
you
are
do
sold
wanna
for.
wrap it horizontally with a little bit of slack.
are sold for.
Okay. I bet there's stickers. So polishing cloth, and that is a different polishing cloth to the one that comes with their monitors. Oh, it's nice and thin. That's a nice polishing cloth. People were comparing it to the like $20 polishing cloth for the studio display and the pro display. This is a different polishing cloth. The front of it is glass. You're probably going to want to use this to wipe it down once in a while, so I feel like this is a microfiber I'll keep. I know some people unboxing this who are going to be very disappointed in the lack of Vision Pro themed stickers. All right, so when you buy an Apple Vision Pro, everyone actually has to go through a sort of a face scanning process. So you actually use the iPhone with the Face ID sensors to measure the depth and scan around your eyes and your face, and you end up with a custom fitted light seal. The light seal cushion is either thin or thick, so maybe you have the optical inserts and you want it a little further from your face, or you just want a little extra cushion. This would be the thicker cushion that you would use. Okay, so there you go, that's the thicker cushion. But the idea is the light seal around the Vision Pro is shaped to roughly match your face. It's not like exactly custom molded, it's more that they have a preset number of different sizes and shapes.
Of course, it's
when
a
you do the
one size
scan,
fit
it
all.
picks the one that matches you the best to give you the best immersion. Let's take the plastic or the cardboard off of Vision Pro. And, sort of a standard head size, I guess, right there. And if we take this protective off the first time, dang, there's your glass. A lot of lights in this room, so it's going to be pretty reflective. But now you can
Of
probably
course,
imagine
it's the
why people are gonna
future.
carry
Everything's gotta
this
be reflective.
Vision Pro cloth. Notice it says Vision Pro on the microfiber. Hopefully you can see that. But yeah, so when you
Everything's
get
gotta
the
be like
headset, you're gonna notice
shiny
two
and stuff.
things.
It's gotta be
One,
made of chrome.
this is the thicker version. This thinner version
Squidward,
pops
everything
off.
in the future, everything is
two,
made of chrome.
This light seal, this is the custom light seal that pops off, and then you're just left with this. This is the entire computer for Apple Vision Pro. It's pretty small. It's not unlike a lot of other VR headsets, but it's got
What the fuck
this
is that?
aluminum housing around the outside.
What
you can
the
see
fuck
the
is that?
tons of sensors and glass, and it is very front weighted. This light seal is what's ideally shaped to match your face and block the light out. It attaches just like AirPods Max. You've seen AirPods Max headphone covers just like that. There you go. And I'm gonna go with the thin light seal
Oh, this
cushion.
looks pretty bad.
And there's the normal look to the Vision Pro headset. Now let's take the dual loop band out, because this is the other one that there's been a lot of talk about the weight of the Vision Pro. And this is the reason why Apple has decided to include 2 bands in the box. There are different band sizes as well, so when you measure your head, you're either getting a small, medium, or a large size for your bands. So I've got mediums of both of these. For this dual loop, let's take it out. So you can see, so much cardboard. There's 2 loops, one over your head and one behind your head. So there's a very specific process to taking off and attaching these bands with Vision Pro. So I'm gonna put this on for the first time without booting it up, just so you can see how this works. So this is the solo band right here.
This looks pretty
Kind
bad.
of goes around the back of your head.
We'll figure this out.
And then, if I'm in the right, yep, this spot right here, this, you just crank this. And it tightens it up. Yeah,
me think.
and the weight is really basically just now pulling it onto the front of your face. All the weight is on the front, and it kind of lands on your cheeks and on your forehead. This is how it looks in all the commercials. It's the most simple looking band. You can pull the band up or down to kind of adjust the way it sits on your head. But, as you can probably already tell, that might get a little uncomfortable. So, to take this band off and switch to the other one, all you gotta do is, you see this this orange pull tab in here? This orange pull tab is just to release the band from the Vision Pro. So if I pull that, it unclicks the metal, and I pull that other one, and it just pops right off. And that's the headset without the band attached to it. And you have these little pods here over each ear, which are a bunch of speaker drivers pointing down into your ear. These are some seriously small components. They're so dense though. Like, this is heavy despite being small. So if you want to put the other band on, it's basically exactly as you'd expect.
Density of a neutron star.
Attaches like that.
Or about half the size of
and
queso.
like that. And now you can change it with Velcro. You can make it taller in the top, taller in the back. So let's try it. Let's try taller in the top and taller in the back. Well, that's so much more well distributed. I happen to adjust it pretty close to my head, pretty much perfectly. That is going to be much easier to wear for longer. But of course, now you have this thing across the top of your head, so not everybody's going to like that, but I think it's immediately a better fit. It's more comfortable. Wow. Okay. I'm probably going to be using that more often. But let's get to this this travel case. So this, I guess, isn't really a travel case as much as it's just like a protective outer layer for the glass, since this whole outside,
That shit
which
alone
has
would
a
be
ton
like
of fingerprints
also
already,
$200.
is just
I
covered in
know it.
glass. You might want to just pop it in here, and then theoretically you can maybe put that in a backpack. I don't know if you would want to, but this is the extra Vision Pro travel case. It's got this handle on the top. Oh, and it extends out a little bit. That's nice.
What symbol should I use here?
That's well thought.
I don't
Nice
know.
and tight. And then it opens up, and it's got sort of molding in the places that you'd put the headset. So this is where the battery will go. And it's even got this molded spot for the cable, so I can slide that in there, Velcro it down, and the cable should be able to just wrap in here. Then the other side, another case. And then it says this is where your, accessory pouch. So this is where you put polishing cloth, power brick, and USB-C charging cable. These things
Oh, that for 200. I see. Okay.
make sense. Keep them in there. Activated carbon deodorizer, do not eat. Then you put the headset in here, put the accessories in there, and close it up.
What the fuck is that thing made
It's
out
actually
of?
pretty
Gold?
solid. I know people were making fun of the price of the $200 Vision Pro accessory case, but the thing is, I wouldn't want to travel with this without the case. And I do think people are going to want to travel with this. The number one use case I've been looking forward to with Vision Pro is airplanes. So I'm going to need a pretty big backpack to have extra room for all of this, but I do think I'm going to be trying that. Let's boot it up for the first time. Let's get it all set up. So
I don't
this
know,
is what
this
you'll have to
design
do when you
kinda
get out Vision
sucks.
Pro. Ready? Open the case. Get your battery out first. The battery has a special cable on the end. Get your headset out. Maybe take off your
Actually, oh my god, I
knit
should
cap,
have done
or
something
whatever
else.
this is called. Pick between your thick or thin light steel cover. I'll go thin. Pick between your dual loop or
I
your
don't know, I'll
solo
keep this
knit
color.
band. I'll go solo knit. And then if you want to charge it up or plug it straight into the wall, the battery doesn't appear to have a removable cable. I'm sure some Apple store has some tool to remove this cable whenever they need to replace it. But what it does have is a USB-C port on the side. So if I ever want to just plug the headset straight into the wall, I'm plugging the battery straight into the
Which
wall.
is pretty
But
much
assuming
like
it's charged,
90% of the time.
last step here is to go to the left side of the headset, and you see this little proprietary circular thing right here. All I'm going to do is line up the dot with the bottom and then twist, and it'll start to glow just like that. And that means it's starting up for the first time. Takes about a minute to boot up, and then I will go right into the setup process,
Fuck,
which
it's
I'm
so loud.
sure you'll all want to see on
Power
camera.
outside.
And I see a checkbox. How do I look? Ridiculous? Do I look great or ridiculous?
I mean, it looks like an average
Decent?
VR, except it's
Okay.
white.
I can see you guys. So there's a little hello script, and it's booting up for the first time. But I'm going to save this, all this setup and all of this using Vision Pro. That's going to be the next video. So last thing I'm going to show you is the Zeiss lenses. If you happen to wear glasses or have a prescription, you will be able to use this headset as well with that prescription with a $100 pair of Zeiss lenses. I think it's $100 for readers and $150 for prescription lenses. But either way, they're really quite small and they're magnetic. And since Zeiss runs the world of glass, this is kind of your only option, is these things right here. All you gotta do though, to attach them, is take this off and you grab one of the prescription lenses and you just snap it in place like that. Hope you can see that. It's a pretty strong magnet. I do not have a prescription, but what I've been told is then you go ahead and scan this code with the headset so that it knows what your prescription is and adjusts everything accordingly, which I think is pretty well thought
I'm pretty
out.
bad
But
at
I think that's
designing,
where I have to end it.
Dia
So
del-
stay tuned. Definitely get
Dia
subscribed
de los Muertos.
for
Yeah.
the
I'm pretty bad at
following videos,
designing
because you
Dia
already know I gotta
de los
set this thing
Muertos.
up. I gotta show you guys how to use
But
Vision
oh well.
Pro. Show you
It
guys
is
what I've
what
been
it
talking
is.
about as far as weight distribution, the games you can play, the experiences you can have, the movies you
Let me
can watch, the
see.
apps that it has. There's a lot more.
What else can I
So
watch?
get subscribed
Oh yeah,
to see
my
that.
bad. I already
And big
seen my
shout out to the
bad.
sponsor of this video, Anchor. So if you're even considering getting a Vision Pro, you probably already have an iPhone, in which case it would be good to at least know about Anchor's new Mag Go lineup. So they've got some charging accessories.
What
This one
other
I think is
videos
pretty sweet. This is
can I
3-in-1.
watch?
So it's called
Let
the
me
wireless
think.
charging station. It unfolds. It's lightweight and compact, and you can charge 3 things at once. Your iPhone up on the MagSafe charger, then something like AirPods down here at the Qi charger.
Okay,
at
at
the
least
bottom,
it's like
and
it has
flip
like a
out
multiple
an
charger
Apple
thingy.
Watch charger, and a 30-minute charge can give your Apple Watch Series 9 almost 50% battery. But this one is actually super convenient to me. This is the MagGo power bank. So again, MagSafe slaps right on the back of the phone, but it's got the screen on it, so you can always charge on the go, and there's a built-in battery, and we love a good built-in battery. But it's 10,000 milliamp hours, so you can charge your iPhone 15 Pro almost 2 full times without even plugging into the wall. And there's also a nice little stand, so you can have it in a, what's that feature called? Standby mode, whenever you want, just by popping it up like that. So I like that too. So both of these things can charge your devices at up to 15 watts wirelessly, and they're good with Qi 2 as well, so they can charge your non-iPhones if you want that. So I think it's worth it. Check it out, link in the description.
Are you sure about
and shout out
that?
to Anchor again for sponsoring this portion of the video. So that's been it.
Let's see. Oh, Samsung S24 Ultra. Why? Right. It's 1300. Fuck. Never mind. I thought it was pretty good. It's fucking 1300. Anyway, let's see. Oh yeah, PewDiePie Drew. I don't know. I'm kind of not interested in PewDiePie at the moment. Fuck. So many ASMR stuff. Let's see. Fucking remember this video right here, the Dear Future Generation. I'm sorry. Looking a bit back at it now, it's so, I don't know. It's just so. It was inspiring at the time, but it's kind of cringe now, kind of. Alright, what do I watch? I don't think I should be watching anything else. Yeah. Alright. Let's see. I was just. Oh, driving Tesla. Oh, look, I want to see this.
All right,
Tesla,
so the
fucking
Tesla
Tesla.
Cybertruck has been kind of an enigma. It was revealed 4 years ago, almost to the day. And ever since then, it was kind of quiet. But then we slowly started seeing them rolling around like California a little bit, and then a couple in
course it's fucking
Texas. And these are like
California.
prototypey Cybertrucks, and they were testing. Turns out one of them was me. Well, for a day anyway. So what we have here is a near final Tesla Cybertruck. It's not an actual delivery truck yet. It's still one that they've been testing. So there's some small prototypey things here or there. But everything that I'm about to show you is what's going to show up in the customer's delivery trucks starting basically right now. So I've learned a lot about this truck in my time testing it. There are some surprising things about it, some features that are really cool, things that I think truck people are really gonna like, but also some concerns that I have, some surprises. Buckle up, this is gonna be a mega video, get subscribed, there's a lot to it. Let's take a look at the final Tesla Cybertruck.
Final? Are you sure about that? But is it aerodynamic though?
All right, first things first, let's get to the specs. Everyone wants to know the official numbers, everything on paper. And it's funny because we'll get to this in a second, but some things have actually changed.
Remember
from
when
the
Elon
show
Musk was
truck
super
that showed up on
popular
stage,
because he was on
including the overall
PewDiePie
dimensions?
meme
I'll get
review?
to that. But the stuff
Yeah.
that you probably care about is the basics like price, range, speed, right? So there are going to be 3 configurations of the Cybertruck. This one that we're looking at here, which you can't tell by looking at it, but this is the triple motor version. It's not quite the same as the Plaid powertrain, but it is 2 in the rear, 1 in the front, and it's going to be able to do 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds, an 11-second quarter mile. It's got about 845 horsepower. It has torque vectoring at the rear, and it's absurd. They call it the Beast. It's a pretty ridiculous set of specs. I think that makes it the fastest production pickup truck factory ever. But there's also going to be a dual motor version that they also start to ship early, and eventually also a single motor rear wheel drive version. The triple motor is going to start at about $100,000. So this is new information. We kind of had a much lower idea of what the price was going to be at launch. This is a $100,000 truck you're looking at. Expect somewhere around 75, 85,000 for the dual motor version, and then the single motor will be further down the road. But the dual motor is still 600 plus horsepower and still plenty fast. But that's the general basics. And as far as range, we'll get to the wheels in a second, but it's about a 340 mile max range from the absolute most efficient version of this truck. Now, a couple other last numbers things that I think some truck people will appreciate. First of all, towing capacity and bed capacity. Those are some things that Tesla's told me. I'm gonna put the numbers up here. I think it's 2,500 pounds for the bed, which is pretty cool. And we also measured the truck,
I guess,
because officially it's about 5% smaller in every dimension from the original show truck, the prototype that people have been seeing on stage.
It's
so I measured
5%
it from front to
smaller.
back,
Oh my god, that's
and
false
it's about,
advertisement.
from bumper to bumper, 224 inches. We happen to have an F-150 Lightning here that we've been directly comparing it to. It's right over there. We've got some onboard power and all sorts of fun features here. And so I'll mention when things like that also appear on this truck, but it's about the size of an F-150 Lightning. A little bit smaller. Now, speaking of the 5% shrinking dimension-wise, there are a lot of things that have changed about this truck versus the original show car. From front to back, there's a lot. There's a motorized front trunk. There's so much to talk about in this video. There is the world's largest windshield wiper, which I'm sure you're curious about, so we'll talk about that. It does actually have side view mirrors. They're removable, and they've kind of done all that they possibly can to make it able to be removed. Like, you can take this off. It has to ship with this from the factory legally.
How can I fix this?
But there is blind spot monitoring lights inside the truck. There are cameras here on the side of the truck to show you that spot when you put your blinker on. So you could just pop this off if you really wanted to. And then also down at the side here, these wheels, this is an aero cap that is removable. So let's just do that to start. This is the premium tire that's going to come on a 20-inch rim. All of the initial trucks, triple motor, dual motor, they'll all have this tire on it. Looks like it's a bespoke Goodyear tire. It's got some neat little aesthetic tweaks and I'm sure compound tweaks and tread stuff here. But this is a plastic aero cap with like this outside rubber. It's actually a 2-piece. And it'll get you a couple % more range on the truck. But if you don't like the look of it, or if you're off-roading, pop that off. And that's how the truck's stock wheel will look. A lot of grease and metal in there. But this is a 2-part thing, like I said, so if I can rip this off, these are the 2 pieces. And the reason it's 2 parts is because they actually wanted these to line up with the little rectangles on the
I'm not a
tire.
car guy.
maybe you
This
wanna
is
take the
not.
air
I
caps
don't
off
understand
to
whatever
air
the hell
down
this guy's
tires and go
saying.
off-roading and you
Seriously.
want maximum brake cooling, whatever you're doing.
My cousin is a car
But if
guy.
you want to put these back
Not
on,
me.
you sort of
He stole all the
line
cars
of
out
this
of me.
up, and then you take the plastic bit now you're back. Get a shot of this. Get a shot of my... So I'm going to probably not do that again, considering everything it just left on my hands. But you get the idea. You can do that on all 4 tires, 20-inch rims. These, again, are the premium tires, and... yeah. Okay, great. Moving on. So, okay, you kind of can't really tell the story of the Cybertruck without addressing the fact that it is a giant stainless steel triangle. I mean, it looks
It literally is.
surreal. Like, there is not really a single curve on this entire
No
truck.
aerodynamics.
Every single piece, these are giant pieces of stainless steel.
No,
There's
whatsoever.
all sorts of sheen and fingerprint implications that we'll talk about, but I don't know. It's an aesthetic thing. Like, not a whole lot of curves, fine, that's pretty cool. But then the other version of that conversation is like, look at how sharp the front of some of these pieces here, how sharp it is. Not that you're gonna like walk up and poke the front of someone's truck very often.
Oh man, imagine
That's
hit your
a
head
sharp
against that.
corner
Oh
piece of
man, that would be
stainless steel
crazy.
right there and right there. And then this front piece here, it's this one huge big stamped piece. And I had a couple
Speaking from
conversations with people,
experience, by the
engineers
way.
at Tesla, about using stainless steel on the body panels like this. And they have these huge presses that
Slightly,
are
a
stamping the
little,
stainless steel.
not too much.
But steel has this sort of a spring back effect. So you use a lot of force to stamp it in place, and then it springs back really quickly. So you have to stamp further than you need to get it to unspring back to the part that you want it to be at. It's a whole complicated thing. All of that is to say, I've seen a bunch of Cybertrucks while I've been here, and they all have slightly different levels of panel gaps, build quality in general. This truck in particular that we're looking at, it actually looks great. I'm not going to say it's micron levels of precision or anything like that, but generally panel gaps all the way around are pretty small, pretty even, looks really good. But I don't know if I can promise that for every truck. Like, even just this huge front piece here has a little bit of like wavering. It's not quite a perfect flat line, so I'm not an expert on it, but I'm just saying,
Not
this is a truck
symmetrical,
you're probably
ill,
not going to care too
disgusting.
much about looking exactly perfect panel gap wise. All right, the next thing we got to talk about is the Cybertruck's trunk, aka the truck bed. There's a lot going on here, actually. Look at this gigantic slope. It looks like a dump truck to me, but one thing you should know is, first of all, a dampened opening for the tailgate, but it's not a power opening tailgate, so you will have to manually close the thing, but it is a nice soft damp. And then the other side is the powered tonneau cover. Oh wait, I should do the thing. They told me it could support up to 300 pounds. So,
It's not. This part right here is not bad. I'm thinking. Oh, you know
told
what?
me I could
You know
do
what's a
it, so
good
here we
idea?
are.
I'm thinking of like a
I'm
fire
not gonna
type
jump,
design.
but I'm told
That's
300
definitely
pounds
like
of
a good
force from somebody
baseline
standing on
start
1
right
foot.
here.
So I think if I jumped, I could probably break the thing. But the fact that I'm standing on it and it's not breaking, that's pretty good. And it's a motorized tonneau cover, which means
It closed on its own.
pretty smooth, I gotta say. Now, once you're here, there's a bunch of stuff I gotta talk about with this trunk. First things first, you probably noticed it slid down and revealed a rear window, which means, number one, yes, there's a rear window. It doesn't go up and down, but at least you have that glass there. And two, yes, that means that when you close the tonneau cover, you are completely blocking your rear visibility. We'll get to that later. So, the other thing you probably noticed is when we first saw the
There's gotta be a
I did
law
video
about that,
this on the autofocus
right?
channel.
There's gotta
The
be a
bed
law
was
where
just,
like you have to
bare
have like
stainless steel.
your
It looked
your
kinda sick,
rear
it looked crazy. But you'll notice now
your
it is
rear
fully
thingy,
lined.
like
Tesla said
your
they
rear
took it out
window
and
to be like
talked to some
visible in
construction
your
people
car,
about
so
it,
you
and we're like,
see
"All right, what do you
what's
think of this
behind
truck?
you.
What do
Like
think of
there's
the bed?"
gotta
And
be a
we're like,
law
"This is
against
awesome,
that.
But the first thing I would do is
In
spray
California
line this so
anyway.
I
I don't know
cannot
about
damage it.
other states
So I just
or
figured they
if
would
at
line it
all if
themselves.
they have any
Nice
law
thick
against that.
lining here. The bed size. The official length of the bed for the F-150, the Lightning got over there, was 66 inches on paper. Now when I line this up here, I get all the way to 72 inches, so it's a solid 6-foot bed. But there's a little bit of overhang over here, so if I subtract a little bit to account for that, it's about the same, 66 inches. And there's a little bit of a sub-trunk, which is pretty cool to see. So a lot of EVs now have a sort of a sub-trunk area. This one, no different. You can definitely fit duffel bag in there, probably a full carry-on bag. And there is a drain plug, so if you want to make a cooler out of it and tailgate, this is a pretty good vehicle to do that. There's also some bed lighting. You can see on the left and right, there's lots of lights, and there's also this sort of a latch system, so all sorts of latch points where you can tie things down with cables. What you're probably noticing though is there's no spare tire, no spare wheel. If you do want one,
really?
you can
No
buy
way.
one separately and tie it up in the trunk, but you don't get one by default. And then the other thing is,
They don't give you a
there's power
spare
in the
tire.
trunk. So two
Oh my god, they have the
120
plug. I
volts
can
here, and
I can work on my
240
game.
volt. If you want to
While we're in
charge
the
a
truck.
vehicle with a 9 kilowatts out, you can use literally the thing you'd plug into a dryer outlet. You can plug that in here, plug it into a vehicle, and give battery to another EV. So just in general, I'm glad that more EVs are doing this, having the ability to power other things and actually charge. You could actually theoretically power your house with this if you had the right inverter. But 11 kilowatts out of the charge port, 9.6 kilowatts out of the 240 volt onboard, all great stuff to have. I should also mention, small detail, bottle cap opener over there, and then some
Really?
more mounting points for cables. And
Yeah,
things
it's definitely for like the
like
beer
that. That's the
people.
truck bed.
Like this truck
of
is
the
made for like
Cybertruck.
I don't
There's
know.
some
I
lights
don't want to
that we'll
get
talk about in a second,
stereotypical.
but let's
Well, not
close the tongue
stereotypical,
cover.
more like I don't know, for like the right, like no fucking truck people. I
Oh,
mean,
so
of
I
course,
just-
it's a fucking
if
truck, so it's
you
made for truck
press
people.
the
But like,
button, it does
like
whole
the
thing.
truck
Or
people, like
if you
the
hold the button, it goes until you let
stereotypical
go.
truck people, you know.
That's a lie. It was doing that up until that point. See? Wait. Okay, this is weird. It didn't do it that time, but it
Oh,
seems
I have
like
some
if I
idea.
hold it
Let's
down,
redesign this part.
whenever
right
I
here.
let go,
I
it
know what I'm
stops.
doing, you know.
and if I just press it, it goes all the way until I cancel it, which it doesn't want to cancel over there. Okay, I'm learning in real time. Close the whole thing. Tell me when to cancel.
Now.
I knew it. All right, we got to talk about these doors because there's actually a lot to it. So first of all, a lot of times on a concept car or a prototype, you'll see there's no door handles and you're like, oh, that's cute. But when you ship the thing, you're going to have door handles eventually. No door handles on the Cybertruck, and they're sticking to it. I have my concerns about this. So basically how this works is there's a little button right here that's indented. You press that button, and when it's unlocked, it sort of pushes it out maybe 2 inches. Then you grab in here
Really,
and open the whole door.
really, that
And
is
then
so
you close
stupid.
it. The auto-presented windows, they all close themselves up here. They're frameless windows. That's cool. It works. Same thing actually back here.
I don't know, I
Smaller
don't-
button. You press it. It opens it. And it works. And this is actually a full 90-degree door. I love that there's like stainless.
Okay, 490 degree is fine. I like that. But like you push the button and it just kind of like pops out a little bit. Like, come on, really? Like, I have to do two things. All right, push the button, and then grab the thing, and then pour it. So basically, that's like three things. And as for like a normal car, with like a normal handle, I just kind of like grab and then pull. That's just two things. Like, I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know about that. Sometimes it just gets too future-y, if you know what I mean.
Steel in here. It's very clearly all metal.
Like sometimes we just gotta
Nice
take a
tough to
step
it,
back
too.
and think
But
about
what
it.
I've noticed,
Think about what we're
and
doing.
this is something you'd already be thinking of if you live in the Northeast or something, is if it's cold, or if it's raining, or if it's frozen, if there's like an inch of ice over here, is this gonna work? Tesla's telling me, and this is a California company that tells me these things, but they're telling me up to an inch of ice, if you can break through that ice and press this button, it'll push with enough force to open it and break the ice off. I hope that's true. That's
That's not
debatable.
true,
We'll
is
see.
it?
But the other thing about that is I think a lot of people are going to open it down here on the stainless steel, and you can see the fingerprints go so hard when you open it like that. And because there's no door handles, there's not really a good way of telling someone how to get in. So a lot of people are just gonna grab it right there and fingerprint. Look at, it's just tons of fingerprints on the side here. So, I don't know. There's going to be a lot of Cybertrucks floating around with lots of fingerprints around the place that people's hands go to open the doors. All right, front of the truck here, a couple things that are of note. First of all, if we go down low, this plastic bumper, pretty solid, but also there's 2 tow hitch rigs on the front, which is awesome. There is a front camera for the first time ever in a Tesla, believe it or not. That's useful on a truck like this where you can't actually see over the front. Then you have this huge daytime running light, but also the headlights, the actual headlights are just these slots down here. I'll show some night, you'll see some night driving footage, so you'll see what the headlights look like. But then the thing everybody's been asking about, and I've seen mostly on Twitter, is there actually a front trunk in here? If so, how big is it? Yes, there's a front trunk, and it's automatically opening, so you just reach in and push the button in like that. And it's a pretty shallow front trunk, I gotta say. This is also the part where I feel compelled to mention
that much, really? That's literally it? Oh my god, that is... What about... Well, wait, I mean, yeah, it is truck, so there is a back, but like...
A single Tesla logo yet.
I mean, okay, yeah, that's... I guess that's a pretty good trade-off.
Cybertruck,
if we're talking about that,
kind
if
of
we're talking about like a pickup truck.
welded text, which is kind of cool. But it's a pretty shallow front trunk.
Cybertruck, oh, that design. I mean, I guess it's cool, but like,
right
I don't
now,
know,
so it's kind
man.
of tough to understand how big
I'd rather have
it's only maybe
a
the size of
car
2 of
brand
these
or like a
Ridge
business brand stay professional, you know?
suitcases. So I'm gonna put
Call me a
2 Ridge
traditionarian,
carry-ons
or call me a
in front of this thing.
non-redditor, but you know, I prefer to
See if I
have
can actually fit
professional
both.
things keeps being
'Cause this is
professional.
basically the exact size.
Unless I want to
you'd
mod my
want for, like,
cars
an
to have like
airplane
insane
overhead. If
shit.
you actually had to travel with
Then that
stuff
would
in
be
the front
different.
trunk. Could you fit it? Not quite. It's really close. I think maybe you might have to do some Jenga to turn them down. As long as they're behind
Not
this
even 2
seal, I
luggage.
think
Oh
I'm
my
good.
god. Not even 2 standard
Take
size
2.
luggage. Not comfortably.
Okay, so that's basically your exact limit, is 2 Ridge carry-ons. Shout out to Ridge for sponsoring this video. So these Ridge
Literally just
carry-ons
put it
which
in
are
the
these
back,
nice
like-
colors. They also have a 30% thicker shell than a standard carry-on while staying lightweight, some nice carbon fiber accents, a durable and grippy handle, and they're weatherproof. So wherever you go, if it's raining, you're good. And if you want a matching Ridge wallet, it literally comes in the same colors. So you've got royal black, alpine navy, base camp orange, and matte olive. And shout out to Ridge for offering a 99-day risk-free trial. So if you don't like it
I
for
don't use
any
all the
reason
credit
within
cards.
99
Too
days,
bad.
you can literally send it back for a refund. No
But I
questions
would consider
asked. So
if
check
I
out the
start
bags,
just
the
using
wallets,
credit cards and stuff.
everything else Ridge makes, and get a special offer at my link below or at ridge.com/mkbhd. All right, so now let's get to the interior of the Cybertruck. And once again, there's a lot going on, but I think probably the first thing you notice is the only curve in the entire interior is this steering wheel. And yes, it's a wheel. It's not a yoke.
It just
I'm
doesn't
pretty
look
sure when
comfortable.
they
Like,
first
if
showed
it's
the
not
car,
curvy, it just
one of the
doesn't
big
look
things they showed
comfortable.
was it had a yoke, and it had this crazy like marble shelf at the front. Now it's looking a lot more normal car-like, but there's still a lot to go over. So first of all, this glass canopy from the nose of the car, basically all the way back to right in front of my head, is the single largest piece of glass in the entire automotive industry. Like if you tried to order a piece of glass this big for your house, it would be a big piece of glass. But this is the biggest windshield we've ever seen. And it kind of is this nice dramatic canopy when you're just like looking around, and visibility in the truck is very good. You also have these little removable sunshades that are actually pretty big, and there's this nice, look at this magnetic connector up top to get that in place. So that's cool and everything, but aside from that, no other curves. Lots of straight angles and triangles and things like that. A good amount of door storage, so I think you could fit probably 2 water bottles in there. There's some tray storage up here. Then you get up to here, and there's all 4 window controls. The door latch to electronically open it, but also the emergency door latch open, so if you lose power, every door that's electronically latched has to have that manual opening as well. And then in the middle, you've got just kind of a bunch of open space. I kind of like the pedals down there. I think they're metal. But then you have just this big open tray space, which I believe the Rivian also has. And then in front, 2 wireless chargers, 2 cup holders, a big old armrest in the middle, and a bunch of storage in here, including another 120 volt outlet, and a single 65 watt USB-C charging port. And then you're sort of in the cabin. And this is where I think you kind of return to the normal Tesla look, which is very minimal. I do like this material better than what they had before, though. It's not the best build in the world. Tesla's been improving with their build quality, but it is what it is.
Oh,
but
that's
you can
finicky.
literally, you can like lose something in front of you. Like if I put like a marble or a pizza box or something, it could slide forward. Of course, I could accelerate and get it back, but there's just a ton of room. And then I'm thinking about visibility over the nose of the car.
Yeah.
Man,
It's
not great. I feel like
you know,
the
I
more
always
drive
had
this car,
trouble
the
with
more I
like
get
the
accustomed to
visibility over
size
the
of it.
nose of the car.
But I really don't feel like I'm looking right down over the nose. I'm looking out at the end of the windshield and then sort of guessing where the nose is. So, okay, a couple other smaller things. First of all, this light up here, touch sensitive. I think that's pretty cool. There's ambient lights all the way around the cabin, and you can change the color of that with RGB with software. I'll get to the software in a second. There's also an interior-facing cabin camera, and there would normally be, this is one of the prototypey things, but there would normally be a regular
I'll be
rear
right
view
back.
camera here. Now, as I mentioned,
I'm back.
you
Anyway,
don't actually get to see out the back from the mirror if your tonneau cover is closed. But there also is no camera option for that rear view mirror to turn into a feed from a camera. Instead, that will always be on the screen. And I think I found that it's actually fine. You just sort of train yourself to glance at the top of the screen instead of at where the mirror normally is, but that's something to note. And one more thing, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, huge tinted roof over your head, all the way back over the passengers' heads, and a ton of speakers.
can you
Not a
close it
single
though?
curve
Because sometimes
on
you
any of the
don't
speaker
want
grills, but
that
there are
tinted
speaker
roof.
grills
Trust me.
all over this cabin, and they're all either trapezoids or squares. Okay, something I've just realized. I
To be honest, oh my
thought
God,
that it was
thanks.
required
Oh,
that the
I totally
only
forgot.
actual
Fucking
physical
hell.
button you need in your car is
I always
the hazards
forget.
button. This truck does not have a hazards button. It has a touch-sensitive hazards thing, but then there's also your park, reverse, neutral, and drive gears, if you actually want to change them, up above your head. I've never seen it there in any car, ever, actually. Typically, it's right in front of you with the paddle shifters or your gear selectors, and you can still do it on the screen like you can in other Teslas, but that's new. That's definitely new. Okay, now, the back seat of the Cybertruck. It's weirder than you think. All right, first of all, I like that the
How
doors open
weird?
90 degrees.
How weird are
You
we
get the
talking
seat
about?
back in front of you. Really good rear legroom, mostly because the seat in front of me is on these cool Cybertruck looking rectangular risers, but that means I
that's
have
not bad.
real space to put
I
my
like
feet
that
under the
design.
seat in front of me, which is huge for legroom. So either side, totally fine. Middle, not the best legroom ever, but still a totally great back seat. Got another screen back here that I'll show you in a second. There's a little bit of seat back storage, but check this out. There's a little trick to the back seat, just for storage. So although you already have a front trunk and a rear trunk, if you want even more covered storage with this latch right here, the right seat actually comes completely up, and you can just keep stuff down here if there's no person here. Matter of fact, the left two seats.
Oh, that's not bad. That's
also
actually
do
not
the
bad.
same thing.
Wow.
I'm gonna get out and pull that latch as well, and then that's a ton of room for activities. Look at this. Not that that's better than having a seat, but you could put a bunch of boxes back here. You could put, I don't know. You can
How
just
big
put
is
stuff
Marcus
back here.
Brownlee?
Also, there's
Like,
the
what,
9.5-inch
410?
screen for
I'm
the
kidding.
passengers, which is where I discovered
Hey.
you can move the passenger seat, not the driver's seat,
That's not
on
bad,
the
though.
screen. And these are also heated left and right, not middle, but heated left and right rear seats.
But
They look ventilated, they
to
look
be
cool,
fair,
but they don't do that. Just,
I think you
just
just
heat.
achieve the same purpose if you like push the.
Or you just like watch a movie or direct your airflow.
And no, this is a truck. I'm thinking in like
Okay,
van and
so
stuff.
whenever you're talking
Yeah.
about a new
No,
vehicle
it's
like
re-
this, a
it's
new
pretty good.
platform like this, you got to talk vehicle controls. So as I'm in the driver's seat, that's going to be this new 18.5-inch touchscreen in the center, biggest ever in a Tesla. It's also the biggest ever car. And this steering wheel, which I got a lot to say about it, but you're going to notice it looks pretty familiar to any other Tesla, but they have made some key changes that I think I actually like a lot. There's still no stocks. There's still no blinker stocks, still no drive, reverse, all that stuff. But the buttons on the steering wheel are, at least now, haptic, like actual buttons. They're not haptic touch controls where you touch it and it vibrates to simulate a button. No, it actually clicks and moves this time, so that's awesome. So at least that's better. So that's the blinkers on the steering wheel. That's your headlights. That's your giant windshield wiper, which I'll talk about, and your voice controls. You still got your wheels up and down for volume of media and your autopilot controls. And then this sort of a flat squircle, I guess is what you'd call it, like a squared off circle type thing for the steering wheel. Oh, and then
Of course,
the real horn this time. There's no like button on the steering wheel horn like in my car. So I really appreciate that. Also, again, no Tesla logo on the steering wheel. It's a Cybertruck like trapezoid silhouette type thing.
By the
So,
way, where's the airbag?
yeah,
I want to see that
Tesla logo on
airbag.
the whole car
Crash the
is
car, damn it.
literally
Crash the
heat,
truck.
same as every other Tesla.
I need to see that
But that
airbag.
brings us, of course, to the new software. So I think they've done an actually really, really good job with the software in this all-new Cyber UI. So if you've used a Tesla before, it's laid out the exact same way, but it's all themed in a very Cybertruck way. But there's some new little things that they've done. It's really well thought out, and I still, honestly, after using it, I really feel like Tesla has the best software in the car industry that's not CarPlay and Android Auto. So first of all, you start with just this huge Cybertruck in the middle for all your vehicle controls. There's little hovering dots, so if you want to open the tailgate or open the tonneau cover, you can do that with any of these little hovering buttons. Open the charge port flap, charge port flap, cool. But then all of the rest of the looks about this car, you can adjust in real time. So first of all, ride height. You tap the wheel there. We are at the sort of entry ride height where it squats to be as easy as possible to get into. You can also go low, medium, or high, and it adjusts super fast. There's a pretty awesome 12 inches of suspension travel between the lowest mode and the highest mode. You can go all the way up to 17 inches of clearance in off-road mode. Extract mode is the absolute highest. It'll add another 80 millimeters of clearance, but it'll go a foot down from that. So that's pretty sick. And there are aluminum skid plates / aero shields at the bottom of the truck. I continue to move around. If I lower the window, for example, look at the window on the car. Halfway down. All the way down on that window. So that's real time. I
You're
got
back.
my lights
I
in
thought you
real
were gone
time.
by
I have
now.
the headlights down here. If I even turn the steering wheel, all of that moves in real time, and it's kind of on this like Mars terrain, cyber terrain, whatever you want to call it. I think that's sweet. So you just get a full overview of the car there. You've got your media, your navigation. It's telling me if I need to close my door or fasten my seatbelt. And this is my range indicator up here. 223 miles right now, which if I tap it is 76% battery. pretty close to what I'm expecting. And then you see your navigation, which basically if you just swipe over, you can fill that right 2/3 of the screen with navigation and keep your vehicle controls on the left. And when you're in drive, that looks just like it normally does in a Tesla with other stuff on the road. But now you have all your navigation stuff. You always have all your stuff in the dock down at the bottom. Heated steering wheel with 2 levels, which is nice now. And your heated and cooled front seats, which is great. So if you just get into controls and dynamics, these are sort of the 2 spaces you'll spend most time.
That orgasm
controls is
sound,
all of the things
and I'll
with
never
just
notice.
opening and closing, unlocking,
Or
screen
I'll
brightness,
never be
headlights. Your glove box is a drawer, which I think is a little bit unique. A button on the screen. I kind of wish you still had a button to open the glove box. But
how should I do this?
all of that is here.
Yep.
And then
Fuck
dynamics is where you have all of your typical like steering and acceleration profiles for Tesla. So in the triple motor version, that would be comfort mode, standard mode, and beast mode. A little crazy, I guess, but that is your maximum acceleration.
Damn,
And
how do I
then
do this
your
part?
ride and handling and your preferred ride height. If you go custom, you can actually individually adjust these things. So acceleration, I'm going to go beast mode. But ride and handling, maybe you want it to be a little more relaxed or a little more focused. That just basically means your damping and your suspension is either a little firmer or a little softer. I gotta say though, the steering is, in my opinion, the craziest thing about the Tesla Cybertruck. Crazier than the design, crazier than the dimensions, crazier than everything else about it, is the steering. So it's a steer-by-wire system. This is the first time Tesla's done this.
Really?
You can't actually change the steering weight or steering feel. It's always the same ratio all the time, but it's crazy for 2 reasons. One, there is rear axle steering, and it is very, very active and really helpful. And 2 is the total turn is less than 180 degrees for your maximum tightest turn. Usually you're used to doing a whole bunch of movement on the wheel. You don't have to do that anymore, so that kind of makes the muscle memory of grabbing the top of the snorkel useless. So first of all, the rear wheel steer, it's awesome. It's up to 10 degrees in the opposite direction of the front wheels at low speeds under 40 miles an hour. And what that does, if you've heard of this before, it effectively shortens the wheelbase and allows you to turn way, way tighter. I think we'll do a sort of comparison with the F-150 Lightning, which is a normal truck that doesn't have 10 degrees of rear wheel steer. And this one, it just means you can turn way sharper. It feels way more nimble in parking lots. It feels like it shrinks the wheelbase, the whole dimensions of the truck. It's great. It takes some getting used to, but it's very useful. And then at higher speeds, above 40 miles an hour, is when it actually changes 1 or 2 degrees in the same direction as the front wheels. So that's going to feel more like lengthening the wheelbase and a more stable movement, changing between lanes at highway speed, stuff like that. But the fact that your entire steering radius is right there in less than 1 turn, like half a turn, is crazy. It takes some getting used to. It is awesome that you can turn around so easily and make those tight parking lot maneuvers and make this big truck feel smaller, but it's a lot. It's going to take some getting used to, but I think we should just get to driving this thing. So let's do it. Let's drive the Cybertruck.
Screw yourself, sweetie.
Driving.
You're gay.
The Tesla Cybertruck.
I'm kidding.
Feels like a Doug DeMuro way to start the video, but man, okay. It still doesn't really feel like a real vehicle, but it definitely is. And first impression really is, well, okay, it feels like a Tesla. That's not going to be a shocker. Really instant throttle response. This is the triple motor version. It's the beast. But also, like, spacing-wise, I'm just looking around, just trying to feel how big this vehicle is. This is a small road, school bus. I'm able to maneuver around, though. I have pretty good visibility everywhere. I'm just thinking a lot about where the nose of the truck is, because it is such a short nose. It's a really different ratio. I'm not used to the hood being that short compared to where the windshield is.
I mean, well, I don't know. From my perspective, short nose is better than long
these laminated
because
windows
most of the time I won't be like
do a good job
seeing where
of
the
sealing
nose
out all
is.
the noise.
So I'd rather have it close to me. But that's just me.
The truck also happens to be allegedly bulletproof. I'm not testing that in this video, but
shoot it with a gun. Come on,
so
you're rich. Just buy a gun.
It's really well built.
It ain't hard. You're in the United States, man.
Nimble, right? Steering is, the weight's not going to change, so this is the way it always is. Getting used to the steering is really going to be the #1 thing for people they're not going to be used to the entire steering being less than an entire turn. It's a half a turn, 180 degrees. I think it's 170. And
I think I'd rather have
it
like
is a pretty big truck, but I feel like it's a tiny bit
the
smaller than
regular
the F-150
wheel
Lightning.
instead of like
I think they
this
did a good
Tesla
job
wheel.
of giving you as much space as you can. Like this is a spacious
If I
cabin,
were to ever
spacious
buy this
back
truck
seats,
for
as I showed
any
you,
trucks,
and a full 6-foot bed, but it's got the smallest frunk, even smaller than the smaller Rivian R1T. So they've kind of pushed around the dimensions a little bit. But second thing is just the vast distance between me and the front of the windshield, and then I just straight up can't see the front of the car. I can't see the nose, no matter how high I look. That's just different, very different. Something I'm gonna have to get used to. Okay, love that the button blinkers are actually physical buttons.
oh my
and
god,
not
Logan!
a
Holy shit, Logan! It's been so long.
Holy
I remember Logan. Oh my god, you were there when I was doing my
crazy.
Minecraft stream.
Actually,
Oh
the
my
suspension,
god.
pretty firm right
Wow,
now. There's
how
a
are y'all?
large delta between the firmness
So
of
basically,
suspension and the softest
welcome Raiders.
suspension.
My name is KDG. I'm mainly an artist now, but I do play games. I'm trying to find a game to play. I just don't know what it is. But yeah, welcome Raiders. Yeah, I'm mainly an artist. This is my most recent work. You can see on the left side. Yeah, and that's literally about it. I'm trying to draw this thing for my friend, and I suck at it because I don't know how to design Dias de los Muertos, because I'm not Spanish or Mexican. I know I'm not Mexican. I don't speak Spanish. Well, I do a little, but yeah, I always love seeing art stream happening. I hope you're just doing well. Yeah, I'm not doing bad at all. Or yeah, today's a chill day for me. I'm just drawing and watching some tech review because I haven't seen that in a while. Like I just watched the Apple Vision Pro. It's crazy. Like it's so expensive, but like I mean it's good quality, but I'd say that it's not worth the brand or worth the money. Shite. Anyway,
That you can
now
have.
just reviewing the
body
Cybertruck,
itself,
and
thanks to the
I
stainless
guess some
steel,
features are
thanks to the
cool,
way it's
but
built,
like
is very,
even if
very
I have the
stiff,
money,
torsionally
I don't
stiff.
think
It's
I'll
very
buy
rigid,
it.
and so all of that
May or
effort
may not.
to be either soft or firm goes on the
And
suspension.
you know what?
Really
Oh,
good
I
suspension,
forgot.
really good
Hold
travel,
on.
really
S.
fast
What
travel.
were you
It
doing?
really is very quiet.
S.
Okay.
O.
Couple other interesting things that you
Logan.
know. One is
Robo.
like huge amount of glass.
Let's
World's
see.
largest windshield is
Persona
very fine.
3.
I think with
Oh
every
my
Tesla I've
god.
reviewed for the
I
past
just
couple years,
looked
there's always
up
been one
that game on
muscle memory
Steam
remap
just this
required to use
afternoon.
this thing.
It's
And with the
$70.
previous Teslas,
What the
like we all
hell?
know about the center screen,
Why
you
is it
used to check right in front of you
$70?
for the speed. Now you have to look over
Why?
to the side. Just a little remap there.
Why is every game
With the yoke
$70
steering wheel
now?
and the buttons on the steering
Inflation
wheel,
is crazy. It's
that's
been
a
60
remap
for like
people
what?
have to
Past
adjust
10
to.
years?
They're pretty stubborn about this stuff. With this one, it's going to be that there is no
How was
rear
it? How's the
visibility
game?
with the mirror when the tonneau cover
Is it like a
closed.
remake? It's gotta
So
be.
my
Yeah, I
tonneau
know,
cover's
like
closed
Persona
right now.
5.
Can't
So
see anything behind
Persona
me.
3 Reload. It's gotta
But
be like a
I've
remake
sort of
or something.
started to remap my glance behind me to the preview of the rear-facing camera, which is on the screen all the time. And so I just keep glancing there. to
It's
see
not
what's
like I'll
behind
ever
me.
buy
You can actually move it to
$60
the
games
left or
anyway.
right-hand
I
side
would
so you get a
I would
bigger
just always
preview when
wait for
it's on the
sale.
right.
And then
Or you
maybe
just do
for
it on
something
the
like a
left. So yeah,
Cyber.
that's the Cybertruck
Hold
muscle memory remap. Is
Try
your rear view
Cybertruck,
mirror
even though it
doesn't
may
have
be
a
an
camera mode, so if you
unpopular
want to check behind
opinion, I
you while
low
the
key
tonneau
think
cover's
the
closed,
Cybertruck looks kind of
looking down
cool.
there. All right, we got a nice little highway coming up. I
I mean,
instinctively put my hand on the side of the wheel to get ready for a big turn, but I don't have to do
Yeah.
it because
This truck is
it's a
like
little, it's a
what
little turn.
was
All right,
I
let's
think
get
he
on
said
the
was
highway.
70k. Yeah, this truck was 70k.
So you don't need a ton
I
of
mean, I guess the
horsepower
gimmick
for,
is
regular
fine now,
pickup
but like
truck
I don't
stuff,
know.
but
I'm more of
merging
like a
onto a
practical
highway
guy. Practical guy.
makes a lot of sense. I mean,
And as
There's
far
some
as
space
I
between
can
car and
tell, I don't think the Cybertruck is that
on
practical.
all season
I mean, it
tires,
looks cool, I guess, but like
all
a
terrain
little
tires
goofy, yeah. But
shouldn't be able to do that.
I don't think it's
A couple
practical.
other interesting things though
With like the
about
air
this
drags
truck
and stuff. I guess it's not
One,
that bad since
world's largest
it's not like a
windshield wiper
square. It's not
is
like a
hilarious.
box car, you know, like
It looks
those
ridiculous.
cheap looking car. This one it has like
it
slanted,
might be logistically ridiculous.
slanted
I don't know
surface,
if in
so
the ice or the
it's
snow,
not
if it's
as
gonna be
bad
able
as a
to,
box
like,
car,
break apart
but
enough ice to move that
I don't
huge
know.
windshield wiper. There's probably a much
it just
bigger
doesn't
motor to
feel
move it,
efficient.
but It works. So Neil, if you're wondering,
Yeah,
it
good
doesn't
for like the
quite
goof stuff in Forest
cover
and
the
yeah, I feel like you
entire
could get to agree
windshield,
with
but
the
it
good
does
cars.
go above my head
Yeah,
and cover
yeah.
75%
I'd rather get
of what
something
the
that's like
passenger's gonna
very
see too, so I
easy
feel
to
like
maintenance and
it's working at least. And then the
like
other thing to
has
note is
long
for your road tripping,
has a long
totally
life, I
compatible
guess.
with all the Tesla superchargers. It has all of the autopilot stuff that other Teslas have, but it's also now
Because
an
I'm too
800
broke
volt
to afford
architecture.
anything,
And what
so
that
I
basically
gotta
means
get my money
is
worth.
it's able
If you know
to
what I'm
charge
saying.
faster at V4 superchargers, and it's able to make total wires thinner because they conduct
look, that's
better
a
and they're
U-Haul.
more efficient, and so the total wire weight
In the
of the car
back.
goes down for all of the high voltage systems. It also has a 48 volt low voltage system, which is 4 times the normal 12 volts you'd see in
I'm
most
watching
cars.
video,
So,
this
in
video,
general,
and I don't
it
understand any
feels
of what he's trying to
future-proof
say
for that
because I'm
reason.
not a car guy.
But it'll still charge just the same as any other Tesla at V3 and V2 superchargers. A little more road noise too. You noticing a little more all-terrain tread coming through to the cabin. These bespoke tires, I'm told, do have foam in them, but you can still hear it and feel it. Tiny bit
Now
of
I
steering
don't
feel.
know
That's
what to do
weird.
with this.
Teslas are usually pretty numb, but this does have some steering feel. Now, probably the funniest, most interesting option that I'm told about with this truck is the extended battery option. So all the Cybertrucks will have the same 123 kilowatt hour battery size, but as we all know,
I'm not a car guy, dude, so he's just trying to
long
take
road
over
trips
fuels
and towing
stuff
and
like that.
hauling things
I mean,
especially
my
takes a
cousin
toll
is the
on your
car
battery.
guy.
So there will be an optional battery,
He took all the cars
an
out of
add-on
me.
battery that you put in the trunk that adds 120
Even when I was
miles
a
of
kid,
range.
I'm more of
It also
like
adds
a
ton of weight, 'cause now
dinosaur
you're
kid
hauling around a
and
huge battery.
space
But now
kid.
you have close to
I was
a
so into
400,
Black Hole when I was a
450 mile
kid.
range truck, which might be what people need to haul big things if they're going to work with it. It's interesting. I really feel like the biggest strength of the Cybertruck is it's got to be the power, the sheer force of 2.7 seconds 0 to 60, 850-ish horsepower, like no other truck.
Yeah, but is it
moves in a straight line
real?
like this
Is
one
that
does.
really like necessary?
But I'm
Like
also
going
gonna
from 0 to
include
60 in
the
like 2
steering
seconds?
as a
Like,
pro.
ain't no one
Kinda get used
going
to
to
it,
the
but
fucking
again,
highway
that tight
in like
turn
2
radius
seconds, you
and
know?
how nimble it feels
Like everyone
on a
already
highway,
goes like
that's
40
remarkably
before they
responsive.
enter
Like,
the
I
highway.
can turn my wheel like this
So
in a
like,
Model S
come on,
Plaid, and it does not feel
it's not
as
that big of a
responsive as this.
deal.
That's a crazy thing to say.
You gotta like
So
measure
the
something
downside,
else.
is going to be one, just that people think it's ugly, and that's fine. A lot of people are going to think it's ugly.
It's silly,
And
yeah.
two is
But I wouldn't say
more
it's
expensive
goofy.
than we
It looks
originally thought.
funny.
It doesn't have that price advantage. I am driving a $100,000
It's
truck right
it,
now.
it's
There's no
that's
way
literally the
around
gimmick.
that.
That's
The F-150
literally,
Lightning I'm following
dude. That's
right now
literally
is
the selling point.
significantly
Is that
less.
it's
The
it
Rivian
looks
R1T
funny.
and
That's
the
it.
Hummer are also very expensive, but it's no longer an advantage that we
Yeah, it
might
feels like a
have.
lot of stuff brag about
Now,
cars
this
being
isn't
able
a
to do
review.
this stuff
I
you
haven't
would never
towed
act
anything with this. I
realistically.
haven't
Yeah,
used any
it's
of the
like
trailer features.
it's
I
like
haven't
people
filled
buy
it up with
supercar, but like
rocks
I don't
and
know,
letting back
like
the
you
dirt.
buy
I
a
haven't
supercar
off-roaded at
or
all. There's a
not a
total
supercar, like a
separate
sport car,
off-road mode thing
like
I
a
haven't
Lambo
used.
or a Bugatti or a
I haven't road
Ferrari,
tripped in it. I haven't
and
lived
like
with
you
it.
you
I do
never
live in Florida, so I
drive
plan on
like
doing
200
all
miles
that,
an
so make sure
hour
you get
anyway. So
subscribed.
why
See
would
the
you
full
buy
review
it?
of the
You
Cybertruck
know?
when it comes out. But I think
You buy it for the
generally,
flex.
as this is my second impressions
That's
ever
literally
and
it.
first time ever driving the thing, I think they really
I'm
got
literally
themselves something
exposing the car
solid here.
industry.
We're gonna have to see about fit and finish.
They're gonna come for
A lot
my
of-
ass.
lot of let's see, a lot of wait and see. But I'm impressed with this. I'm impressed. So let me know what you think. Obviously, there are going to be some polarizing thoughts on the looks. Let me know if you're in the "this thing is ugly and I'll never buy it" camp. Why is this thing looking like a
I see this
stainless
need to get
steel
some frozen
refrigerator
food.
on
Oh, no
wheels?
problem.
I totally get it.
Switch to lurk.
But let me know
I'll
what you
keep
think
that.
about
Thank you.
Cybertruck
Yeah, you should
versus
definitely take a break. I know. After
F-150
stream
Lightning
is
versus
tiring. So
Rivian
yeah,
R1T.
get your
Let me know if
well-deserved
there are other
break
things you wanna see in
and
a video.
yeah,
Get
enjoy your
subscribed
food
to be
and
among the
stuff. And
first to
good night to
see
you as
that
well.
stuff.
If it's nighttime for you.
I think that's about it for this one. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. Peace.
Let's see. Making purple gold. Purple
This video
gold.
has been sponsored
I've
by
never seen
Opera.
purple gold.
Back in 2019, I was sent some old jewelry from a viewer, and I was able to turn it into these pure 24 karat gold bars, which I thought were pretty nice. Since then, though, I've been really interested in gold in general, and a couple years ago, I stumbled onto a form of it that I'd somehow never heard of before. It was something called purple gold, and this website was selling it as jewelry, and in my opinion, it was one of the nicest forms of gold that I had ever seen. However, the color of it also kind of seemed unnatural, and at first,
It looks like candy.
I honestly thought that it was probably a scam. With very little research though, I quickly found out that purple gold was actually real, and according to Wikipedia, it was an alloy of gold and aluminum. Now, I'm not someone who's normally into jewelry, but for some reason, the moment that I saw that it was real, I really wanted to buy some. More specifically though, I really wanted a ring that was made entirely out of purple gold. However, long story short, that website didn't sell one, and as far as I could tell, there wasn't a single company or person in the world who sold a pure purple gold ring. At first, I thought this was kind of odd, but apparently this was just because purple gold was a huge pain to make and to work with in general. It also turned out that Li Hua, the owner of that website, was one of the only companies that even made purple gold jewelry.
Really?
With all that being said though, I still really wanted a pure purple gold ring, and now, knowing that it was actually impossible to buy, I kind of wanted it even more. At the same time, I also felt that it had to be possible to make an entire ring out of it, and I started thinking that this was something that I might just be able to make myself. I mean, I had absolutely zero experience with purple gold, and I had never made a ring out of anything before.
Oh man, this part's gonna be hard to design.
But for some reason, I really felt that I could do it, and I decided to just go for it.
But anyway, to get started, the first thing that I had to do was figure out how to even make the purple gold, and with a quick Google search, I was able to find a lot of videos and articles talking about it. However, none of them gave any real information on how to make anything remotely decent. With a bit more searching though, I was eventually able to find this
Literally the page 2 of Google.
to be extremely useful.
You gotta go there. It's that deep. It really is that
good
deep.
Info about purple gold in general. It also explained how to potentially fix one of the biggest problems with it, which was how fragile it was. It said that normally, with the typical mixture of about 78.5%
I mean,
gold
yeah, aluminum.
and
I don't think
21.5%
aluminum and gold
aluminum,
actually
it was
like
as brittle
mix
as
together
glass
well.
or porcelain, and that it was way too fragile to make any jewelry with it. However, it claimed that by altering its composition just slightly, or by adding some other metals to it, like palladium or nickel, it was possible to make purple gold.
Palladium, that's a real ore. Oh my
I
god, I thought it was a Terraria
and
thing.
the one that caught my eye was this one, which appeared to be the simplest. It didn't require any other metals besides gold and aluminum, and the only difference was that the gold content was slightly increased to 81%, which would make it about 19 karat gold, and this was what I decided to go with. The only tricky part was that besides the ingredients, it really didn't tell me anything else, and there was pretty much no information on how to actually make the purple gold. So unfortunately, this meant that I was going to have to figure out everything myself, and considering that it was supposed to be really hard to work with, I was honestly kind of worried. What made me feel slightly better though was that at the last second, I found out that all of the purple gold that's sold by Li Hua is actually based on this patent. So even though it didn't give any real instructions, I at least knew that the recipe itself should have been trustworthy, and I decided to just go for it. With that being said, I could now actually get started, and the first and most important thing that I needed was some gold, which unfortunately isn't exactly cheap. So I initially planned on buying as little as possible, and I figured that something like 20 grams would probably be more than enough.
That's like 1,000.
Last minute,
Wait, no, that's like 5,000.
It was a good idea to get a bit more, just in case I needed it. And long story
that's
short,
like 5K.
I ended up with this 100-gram bar. In total, this cost me about $5,700 US, or about $7,800.
Yeah, 5,700. That's more than 5K. Oh my god.
I originally had for this project, and it was probably way more.
Not
than
too bad or anything, but I'm kind of like a gold connoisseur. Not really. That's a
lie. I now
lie.
had this beautiful and shiny bar of gold, and just looking at it and holding it in my hand,
I've seen
was
gold
oddly
before.
Satisfied. The only sad part was that it was kind of useless to me as one big bar, and unfortunately, the first thing that I had to do with it was destroy it.
That's
More
crazy.
specifically, I was going to have to break it apart into a bunch of smaller pieces because I had to be able to measure out very specific and accurate amounts of it.
To do this, the most obvious way would have been to tear it apart manually using something like a chisel and a hammer, but that would have been an insane amount of work, with most likely mediocre results. Instead, I felt that it was a much better idea to do it chemically, so I just carefully placed it in a beaker.
Acid?
And I poured in a bunch of concentrated hydrochloric acid.
Oh my god, acid. I called it.
I then turned on the heating, and over the next few minutes, it slowly warmed up, and it eventually started boiling. Then,
Damn.
when I felt that I was ready,
Damn,
I
that's
shot
so
in some
cool.
concentrated nitric acid. Almost immediately,
Nitric
there
acid,
was a
so
lot more
basically,
bubbling, and the solution started changing color.
vitamin C.
This is because the nitric acid was reacting with the hydrochloric acid, and it was forming nitrosyl chloride and chlorine gas, both of which are yellow.
Mustard gas.
Importantly, though, unlike the hydrochloric acid alone, this new acid
We got also some
commonly
mustard
known as
gas.
Regia, was able to attack the gold bar. It wasn't super fast, but it was slowly shredding it apart, and it was turning it into something called chloroauric acid, which was then getting dissolved away. So, what I was doing here was basically breaking it apart at the atomic level, which was way better than I could ever do manually, and on top of that, it was just a lot easier.
So basically,
All I
the
had
gold
to do
particles
was
just
occasionally
will not
add
disappear
small
into
amounts
thin
of
air.
nitric
It's still in
acid,
there, but like,
and over the
how
next
would you
few
get out
hours,
the other gold? Like,
it
come on, it's
very
money.
slowly disappeared. Eventually, all that was left was just a thin sheet of gold, and with just a little bit more acid, I was able to completely get rid of it. There was now absolutely no trace of the original bar, and all 100 grams of the gold was dissolved as the chloroauric acid. I then let it cool down to room temperature, and what I had to do next was turn all of this chloroauric acid back into metallic gold. At first, it might not make much sense why I just dissolved it all, only to immediately bring it back, but it'll all make sense in a few minutes.
Just say it now.
With that being
Damn
said,
it.
I then just grabbed
Don't
the
leave me
beaker
hanging.
and started walking over to my other fume hood.
Well, shit. Wow. Wow, you
Okay,
just
that
wasted
was actually just a
5K.
beaker full of water and food coloring, and what I really did
Oh,
was pour
Oh.
it all into a bunch of extra water.
that's funny.
I also washed the beaker a few times with some more water to make sure that there was absolutely no gold left behind. Then after that, I stirred it around to make sure that it was all fully mixed, and when I felt that I was ready, I dumped in a concentrated solution of potassium metabisulfite. This caused the entire thing to quickly turn brown and to heat up a lot, and I was really happy to see this. This is because it meant that the potassium metabisulfite was working and that it was reducing all of the gold in the chloroauric acid back to its metallic form. The very important part, though, was that it wasn't all just coming back as a large chunk or something, and it was instead crashing out as a superfine powder. So, by just dissolving the bar and bringing it back, I had effectively pulverized it to a dust, and again, this was way better and easier than anything I ever could have done manually. Over the next 30 minutes, pretty much all of it sank to the bottom, but there was still a small amount of it floating around. So I decided to leave it overnight, and when I came back to it the next day, it was completely clear. I was now
Wow.
able to get rid of all the water, and I just quickly poured it out into another container. I was also very careful to not lose any of the gold, and when it eventually looked like there was almost no water left, I transferred it all to a small beaker. I then poured in some boiling distilled water, and I turned on the hot plate, and I let it sit there for several minutes. I was doing this to get rid of any residual potassium metabisulfite and other side products.
God, chemistry
and
is
after
so
that,
whack.
I did it a few times with hot hydrochloric
Like,
acid.
last time I
This would
got
help
it
get
into
rid of any
chemistry
trace
class, I
impurities of
ended
other
up
metals
learning
that
fucking
might be
quantum
there.
physics.
And when I
For
felt that it
fuck's
looked
sake.
good, I washed it a few more times with hot water. What I had now should have
For
been
fuck's
some
sake, I
super
came
nice
in
and
there
clean
for
gold,
chemistry,
and
not
all I had to
quantum
do next was
physics.
dry it, so I cranked up the
And I
heat
learned
on
about
the
like
hot plate,
superpositions
and I
and
waited
all
for
that
all the
fun
water
stuff.
to disappear. This ended up taking over an hour, which was way longer than I expected, but when it was eventually done, I had some nice and crispy powdered gold. When I weighed it, it was also 99.99 grams, and this meant that I had only lost 0.01 grams in
That's
this
a lot.
entire process.
That's a lot.
However, considering that the original bar was only 99.99% pure, it was very possible that this small amount was actually just some impurity, and that what I had now was more pure than it was before.
Huh.
But anyway, at this point, all of the gold was ready to go, and the only other thing that I needed was some aluminum, and I bought this bag of it from eBay. It was supposed to be 99.995% pure.
How do they know?
And it was the absolute highest purity that I was able to find. It also came as a bunch of small pellets, which I felt would make it easy to measure out, and now it was finally time to try and make some purple gold. So I carefully measured out 4.95 grams of the gold, which was really easy to do in its powder form, and I added it to a small crucible. Normally, I also would have added something called borax, which would both help the gold melt and prevent it from sticking to the dish, but I unfortunately couldn't do that here because it would react with the aluminum. Either way, I then just started blasting it with a blowtorch, and very quickly the top of it turned red hot, and I could slowly see some of it starting
Oh,
to
that
melt.
looks pretty cool.
As
Damn.
I kept heating it, it was also slowly shrinking, and about 30 seconds later, I was left with two separate blobs, which eventually combined to form a nice little bead. I then kept blasting it
And that's
just to
pure
get it as
gold.
hot as
It got
possible,
smaller.
and when it was red hot, I dumped in exactly 1.61 grams of the aluminum metal. The ones that were touching the gold almost immediately melted and combined with it, but it looked like the others needed a bit more convincing. However,
That's-
even after making them
That's
red
motivated
hot,
to
they
merge
still
with
weren't
cultural
melting,
controls.
and this was because the thin oxide layer that naturally forms around aluminum was holding in the liquid metal. So to actually get it to mix, I was gonna have to poke at it a bit, and I was happy to see that it all easily combined together. What I was more happy to see, though, was that below all of the crusty oxides on the top, it looked like there was a nice and free-flowing liquid. I was also kind of surprised to see this, because there were at least a few comments that I read online which said that doing this in the presence of air would turn the entire thing into a horrible oxidized mess.
Wow.
However, it wasn't nearly as reactive as I initially thought, and it definitely seemed like it could be possible to pour this into a mold or something. With that being said, I now theoretically had a mixture of 81% gold and 19% aluminum, except it wasn't even remotely purple, and this was because it was still way too hot. It was also still a liquid, and to get it to turn purple, I was gonna have to let it cool down. As this happened, it was supposed to slowly crystallize as an alloy, where most of it had the chemical formula AuAl2, which is the form that has a really nice purple color. According to the patent, though, by skewing the gold content slightly higher than the typical 78.5%, it would push a bunch of it towards a gamma phase gold aluminum structure. I honestly
What the fuck
still
does
don't
that mean?
entirely know what that means, and I've had
He
a
doesn't even
very
know what
hard
that means.
time finding any good info about it, but the important part was that it was supposed to make the alloy a lot stronger. When it did eventually get to room temperature, though, it sadly still wasn't purple because it was covered in a bunch of blue oxidized junk. If there were actually
course.
any purple gold, it was all hidden inside, and to see if it were there, I was first gonna have to get it out of the crucible. So I just carefully poked at it with a metal spatula, and even without any borax, it was surprisingly easy to remove.
Oh,
What I had now was a super crusty and ugly piece of metal,
musty.
and to see if I had actually made any purple gold, all I had to do was break it open. I also figured that this would be pretty easy considering how weak and brittle even this stronger stuff was supposed to be.
Oh no.
So I just tried snapping it in half.
Oh no.
However, it turned out to be a lot tougher than I expected, and it really didn't feel like I was even close to breaking it. So instead, I decided to just quickly kill it with a hammer, and I kind of assumed that it would easily shatter,
Nope.
but again, that apparently wasn't the case.
You're losing
I mean,
the gold
I didn't
atoms,
exactly
damn
hit
it.
it super hard, but still. it
But look at
definitely
that, like,
didn't seem
look
like
at
it
the
was as
fucking
brittle
spec.
as
You're
glass
losing the
or
gold
porcelain,
atoms, damn it.
and all of
At least
that
be
gamma phase
careful.
stuff
Like, at least like
appeared
put
to
it in
be
like
working.
a confined
But
space that you
anyway,
can
I
easily
then just
collect
kept hitting
the
it, each
fucking
time
gold
doing
dust.
it a bit harder. And when
Oh,
it did
no.
eventually break, I was really happy with what I saw. Inside of it was a bunch of beautiful purple gold, and the color of it almost seemed unnatural. What I thought was
Because
kind
it
of
is
odd, though,
unnatural.
was that it wasn't quite the purple that I was expecting, and it seemed like it was a lot pinker than the jewelry I'd seen online.
Why?
This made me think that maybe I'd chosen a bad recipe or something, but when I checked the patent, it actually said that it was supposed to be a pinkish purple. It also said the same thing for all of the other recipes, and again, considering that this was the patent that the Liwa stuff was based on, I trusted that it was probably good. I also started thinking that maybe the darker color only came out later on in the process, or when it was being polished or something, and I decided to just keep going. So now, assuming that this recipe was good, what I had to do next was somehow figure out how to go from just making a bunch of crusty crap to a nice and shiny ring. This was going to be a lot of work though, and just thinking about all of the different things that I was going to have to test kind of overwhelmed me, and this made me feel that the only way to move forward was to just take the process step by step. This way, I wouldn't break my brain and I would only have to focus on one major problem at a time, and right now, I felt that the biggest issue was the oxides. This because they were clearly making everything a huge mess, and if I even wanted a remote chance of making anything nice, I was definitely going to have to get rid of them.
Do it in a confined
To do
space,
this,
in
there
a
was
vacuum or
also
something.
only one real way, and I was going to have to somehow stop the aluminum from reacting with oxygen in the air. So I went online looking for some ideas, and after searching for a long time, I was only able to find two decent suggestions. The first was to buy a super expensive and specialized
my
inert
God,
atmosphere
13 to
casting machine,
17K?
and the second one was to basically custom build something that was equivalent. However,
AI
I really
generated.
didn't feel like it had to be that complicated or expensive.
It's AI
and after thinking
generated.
about it for
I
a
can't believe
while,
he's
I
done
came
this.
up with an idea that I thought was relatively simple. I figured that all I had to do was use this small tabletop furnace that I already owned, and to load in one of my smallest crucibles. Then after that, I just lowered in some stainless steel tubing that I'd gotten for free, and I quickly bent it to fit around the furnace. What was important though was that at the other end of this tubing, it was connected to a tank filled with inert argon gas that I'd gotten from a local welding shop, and that was basically it. What I
Argon.
had
Isn't
now
that like
was just a
radioactive or
regular
something?
furnace
Or is
with
it just
the
a gas?
ability to shoot some argon into
No, that's
it,
radon.
and
Argon's
I really
different.
felt that it was gonna work. There was only one way to find out though, so I quickly added the gold, started a steady flow of argon, and I set the furnace to 2200 Fahrenheit, which is about 1100 Celsius. Over the next 15 minutes, it then slowly heated up, and the gold powder slowly shrank, except it was looking like it was having some trouble melting with the top open, so I covered it with some KO wool.
I don't know if
After
this looks
that,
good
it only
though.
took a few minutes to have a nice little blob of gold at the bottom, and now I could add the aluminum. This time though, I decided to use some much larger pieces of it, which weren't quite as pure, but I was hoping that they would liquefy a lot more easily than the smaller ones. To load it in, I just carefully dropped in the first piece, and I was very happy to see that it all quickly combined with the gold. I then added the rest of the aluminum, which also quickly got sucked up, and at this point, it was already looking way better than the first attempt. What I was especially excited about was that it looked like there were barely any oxides, and this meant that the argon was doing a decent job. This was also really impressive considering that the aluminum was red hot, and that it was way more reactive than normal liquid aluminum. But anyway, what I had now was some nice and relatively oxide-free purple gold, and what I had to do next was try and pour it. In theory, it probably would have been a good idea to protect it from air while I did that as well, and I did consider putting together some sort of specialized setup. However, instead, I decided to go with the very sophisticated method of just going as fast as possible. So, I just quickly got rid of the argon line,
Just
pulled the
speed.
crucible out of the furnace, and tried pouring it out onto a preheated graphite mold. As I did this, I was really hoping to see a nice stream of red-hot metal,
Nope, it's
but
stuck.
nothing was coming out, and it didn't even work when I tilted it completely upside down. At first, I was kind of confused, but then I realized that all of the purple gold had just frozen in the crucible.
No.
Apparently, just a few seconds was enough for it to cool down below its melting point.
Damn. That's
I was
crazy.
clearly gonna have to get it as hot as
I
possible.
mean, yeah, to be fair, like, there's
So
no
I just put it
oxygen,
back in the
so...
furnace, dropped in the argon
So,
line,
like,
and
yeah,
covered the
things
top,
would freeze
and I
really
left
quick
it there
because
until the
the heat is
entire
not
thing
being
was
fueled by
bright
the
red.
oxygen. So go
I then
figure.
again attempted to go as fast as possible, and
Nope.
it was still a bit stubborn. But I was actually able to pour it out.
Holy shit!
The
Oh,
only
that's
sad part was that it was a
fast.
complete piece of trash, and having to remelt
Well.
it had apparently caused it to get really oxidized.
Damn.
This told me that I only had one real chance to pour it out, which wasn't ideal, but at least now, I knew exactly what to do. So, I quickly whipped up a new batch of the purple gold, and this time, when I poured it out, I was really happy with what I saw. I then let it cool down to
Oh, it's
room
not that bad.
temperature, and when I took a closer look
But
at
like,
it,
it's still kind of
it
yellow.
was definitely the best result that I had so far. I mean, it still wasn't perfect, but it looked way cleaner, and it wasn't anything like the crusty mess that I had before. The only thing that I thought was odd was that it was silver, and I had assumed that without a lot of the oxides, that it would have been significantly more purple. At the same time, though, I figured that maybe it was just a bit of aluminum or something that was on the surface, and that it would be really easy to get rid of. So I decided to try sanding it a bit, and I was assuming that when I flipped it over, I would see that really nice pinkish purple color,
Nope.
except it was still just silver. I then tried sanding it even more, thinking that maybe I just hadn't taken enough away,
It's still silver.
but it didn't seem to make a difference. When I saw this, I was honestly kind of confused, and the only explanation that I
You're
could think
losing
of
gold.
was that I had somehow failed to make the purple gold. So to check this, I was going to have to break it open,
Of course.
and this time, I was even more surprised by how strong it was.
Damn.
Making it way harder than before, and it didn't seem to do anything, and eventually, it ended up making a huge dent in my wooden table.
Holy
After
shit.
hitting it 7 times, though, I was finally able to crack a small piece off of it, and I was kind of upset by what I saw. This is because inside of it, it was definitely colored, and it made no sense why sanding it wasn't working. What I thought was even more upsetting, though,
Huh.
was that it was only barely pink, and it wasn't nearly as vibrant as the first attempt. This also really didn't make any sense to me, because I'd basically done the exact same thing as before, except without any air present, and it really shouldn't have had any effect on the color. However, I was going to have to be absolutely sure that this wasn't an issue with the new setup, or with the different aluminum, and to test this, I just quickly did the exact same thing, and I made a fresh piece of it, and I waited for it to cool down. I then got my hammer, and this time I protected my table with a steel plate, and after one good hit, I was really happy with what I saw.
Oh, wow.
It was actually purple, which told me that my setup and my aluminum were probably fine, and I still have no idea what went wrong with the first one.
Huh.
Either way, I then took one of these pieces, and I assumed that with the much stronger color, it would actually sand properly, but that apparently wasn't the case. Like before, no matter how much I sanded it, it never turned purple, and I just couldn't understand why. What
There's
was
gotta be a
even worse,
scientific
though, was
explanation to
after
that.
this, I tried just sanding the purple part itself, mostly out
And
of
it's gonna be silver.
desperation, and I was devastated when I saw that it turned silver.
Go
I had
figure.
no idea how this was even possible, but it was a horrible thing to see, because if sanding it or grinding it wasn't an option, it would be extremely hard to make anything nice out
Yeah,
of it.
no wonder why people
As
say it's a pain in
complete
the
last-ditch
ass
effort
to make
fix
this.
problem, I decided to drop this little piece of it into a beaker and to add some hydrochloric acid. I thought that maybe just a very thin layer of aluminum was blocking the purple gold or something, and I was hoping that the acid would get rid of it.
No, it's not.
However, as the aluminum disappeared, it just slowly went back to being pure gold, which I actually thought was pretty interesting, but it didn't help me at all. At this point, I was really lost as to why this was happening, and I had almost no idea how to fix it, and I ended up spending the next few days trying a bunch of other random stuff. I then spent another few days reading everything that I could find online, and after finding absolutely nothing useful, I honestly kind of felt like giving up. Before doing that,
But he
though,
didn't.
I decided to look
Otherwise,
at
he
the
would have
patent
like
one last
not
time,
made this video.
and this turned out to be a really good idea because I saw something.
About you watching the
that
purple
I'd
gold ring
somehow
video.
never
Yeah, I haven't
noticed
seen
before.
this. I saw
It was also
I saw this in the
almost just said in
recommended that I
passing,
never got.
but
I
it was
never get to see
here
it.
where it was mentioning the
I'm almost
purple
on the
color,
design. It's
and
kind
the key words were
of like the
at
these
least on
design right here,
annealing
like with
at
the eyes.
600
I
C.
might change that.
This didn't
I'm
directly address
going
the
for like
problem that I was
a
having, but it
fire
implied
design,
that there
fire
was a
type
way to
design.
enhance or recover the color.
So
and
I kind
figured
of suck
that
at
this was
this.
my only chance. So I just quickly
So
preheated
bad.
an unused crucible to 600 C, and for this attempt, I also made this fresh new piece that I had sanded down nice and flat. Just like all the other times, this made it completely silver.
I might just
and
leave this
it
blank.
kind
The
of just
pattern
looked
looks
like
sick.
a generic piece of metal.
Easy to do.
And I had
Oh,
a
I
hard
forgot to
time
draw this
believing that
part.
this could
Damn it.
actually turn
Hold
purple.
on.
There was only one way to find out, though, so I dropped it into the crucible, and then based on absolutely nothing, I decided to leave it for about 30 minutes. When I came back to it, I was honestly feeling pretty hopeful, and I was really curious to see how it was doing. So to get a closer look at it, I just carefully pulled out the crucible, and I dumped it onto some insulation, and I was genuinely shocked by what I saw. Almost like magic, it had actually somehow turned purple, and the moment that I saw this, I was really relieved. This is because it was very obvious that the heat treatment had worked, and the project was thankfully no longer at a complete dead end. What I thought was really interesting, though, was that as it continued cooling down, the color of it slowly changed, and it was gradually shifting more towards that pinkish purple.
Huh.
However, it didn't seem to get quite as pink as I saw with the first attempt, and when I took a closer look at it, it appeared to be a darker purple. I mean, it still definitely wasn't as purple as the stuff that I saw online, but this at least showed me that even with the same recipe, the color could actually be pretty different. This also made me think that maybe by annealing it for longer, or just in a different way, it might have been possible to make it even more purple. With all that being said, though, right now what I had was still kind of a piece of crap, and I felt that the most important thing to do next was to see if it was even possible to make something nice. More specifically, I had to see if I could actually mold it into a specific shape and then clean it up, and I was really tempted to just immediately try and make
I don't know. The design might be a little
However,
too
I knew that
busy.
starting with something complicated like a ring would be a horrible idea, and it would introduce a whole bunch
The
of
design might be
issues.
too busy.
So instead,
Like if I were to
I
like
decided
shade
to
it.
just make a simple little bar. In particular, though, I really wanted to make one that looked exactly like a typical
Like-
gold bar,
like for
except that it
example.
was purple, and I went ahead and melted a bunch more metal. After that, I went and got one of my small bar molds, and this time, I was gonna blast it until it was red hot. I was really hoping that this would prevent the metal from freezing and help it fill the mold better, and when I felt that I was ready, I carefully poured it in. I was a bit concerned that I was gonna miss or something, but it all turned out fine, and I was really happy to see that it easily filled the entire mold. I then let it all slowly cool down, and when it was eventually around room temperature, I had to get it out of the mold, and I was a bit worried that it might be stuck. However,
Okay,
that
it's not
really
that
wasn't the
bad,
case, and it
I
just
guess.
easily fell
Maybe
out,
it's because of the
and this
line
made it
that's
pretty
making
clear to me
things look
that there was
too
no
busy.
issue with molding it.
Okay, yeah, it's not that
There was,
bad.
of course,
Never
still
mind, it's
one
not that bad.
problem, though, and that was how ugly it was. And what I had to do next was see if I could actually turn it into something nice. To do this, I decided to just sand it by hand, which wasn't exactly ideal, but I didn't want to lose any of the precious gold dust. Unsurprisingly, though, this turned out to be super tedious and difficult, and it ended up taking 10 hours to get it into a
10
shape that I liked.
hours?
I then polished it by moving up to finer and finer sandpapers, and when I eventually felt that it looked good, I annealed it, and this was the final result. It was pretty
Now
much
make a ring out of
exactly
it.
what I was hoping for, and it was just like a normal gold bar, except it was pinkish purple, and I was really happy with how it turned out. The only thing that I thought was odd was that it didn't seem nearly as purple as my other piece, and this one kind of looked like it was a light pink.
Yeah, it's kind of pink.
However, after a bunch of testing, I found that this was mostly just because it was way shinier, which made it appear a lot brighter, and I'll talk more about this later on. With all that being said, though, Being able to make this fully proved to me that it was definitely possible to cast and clean up the purple gold, and at this point, I was feeling pretty excited. However, my mood completely changed when I decided to take a much closer look at it, and I was kind
Oh.
of horrified by what I saw.
Oh, that's
It was
horrible.
apparently riddled with a bunch of small cracks, and I have no idea how I didn't see this at all up until
Oh,
now.
the trypophobia is
And I think I
crazy.
was just blinded by all of the excitement. What made things even worse was that it also looked like the color wasn't very uniform, and there were a lot of spots that appeared to be completely
Oh, the
colorless,
trypophobia is
almost like
crazy
the
on
metals
this one.
didn't mix properly. In my opinion, though, that would be a relatively easy fix, and I just had to mix things better, and the much bigger problem was all of the cracks. This is especially because once I noticed them, I couldn't just unsee them, and I couldn't help but think that they were super ugly. What made it even more horrible was that it was throughout the entire thing, which meant that I couldn't just sand it away, and when I looked back at some other random pieces that I made, I noticed that it was there too.
Oh my god.
At first, I tried to convince myself that maybe that was just how purple gold was, and to prove this,
No.
I ended up buying a small pendant from Li Hua.
And it's clean.
The moment that I opened the box, though, I immediately realized that I was just in denial. This
Of
because
course.
the surface of it looked almost perfect, and I wasn't able to see any of those gross cracks in it. It was only when I really zoomed in that I could actually see some small surface defects, and
Oh.
there were definitely at least a few small holes.
Oh,
I
they
could
sanded.
also vaguely see that, like mine, the color wasn't perfectly uniform either, but overall, it was clearly way better than what I made.
They
As a
sanded
quick
it
side note,
to the
it also
ground.
seemed to be significantly more purple than my pinkish bar, but again, this turned out to be mostly just a lighting thing, and I promise that I'll talk about this more later on. But anyway, at this point, it was pretty obvious that these holes weren't meant to be there, and the very unfortunate part was that I still had no idea what I was doing wrong. All I knew was that I hated how ugly it was, and that this was unfortunately something else that I was going to have to fix, and this project really just felt like a never-ending sequence of problems. With that being said, just like before, I ended up trying a bunch of random things, and when they all inevitably failed, I desperately looked at the patent, and I tried searching online. However, unlike last time, I wasn't able to find even a vague reference of this happening with purple gold. What I did find,
Science.
though,
You
were
gotta
a
look
lot
into
of
the science
sources
now.
that mentioned a very similar problem that commonly happened with pure aluminum. I also found a really useful report that talked about this issue in detail, and they provided a photo of what it could make the aluminum look like.
Oh my god, the
All of the
trypophobia
dark
is
spots
crazy.
were small holes, just like what I was seeing with the purple gold, and apparently, this was mostly just caused by moisture in the air. This is because when aluminum is molten, it's able to react with the moisture, which then causes it to form some of those crusty oxides like we saw before,
Oh, that makes sense.
as well as some hydrogen gas. I always kind of assumed that all of this hydrogen then kind of just floated away, but apparently
Nope, it's trapped.
a lot of it actually gets dissolved into the molten aluminum. Then,
That's
as
crazy.
the aluminum cools, the solubility of the hydrogen slowly decreases, and right around the time that the aluminum is solidifying, it all gets kicked out as a bunch of bubbles. What I thought was interesting, though, was that they also provided this photo, which is what it looks like if all of the hydrogen's removed before it solidifies. There's a pretty obvious difference, and all of those cavities are completely gone, and now it's just a nice and smooth piece of aluminum. After seeing this, I felt that it was pretty clear that this was almost the exact same issue that I was having, and this seemed to be confirmed when I looked back at some of my footage. More specifically, I looked back to when the bar was solidifying, and I was able to see what looked like bubbles
Oh yeah.
popping on the surface.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing it.
When I saw this, I felt that it was pretty clear that this was all just hydrogen gas getting kicked out as it solidified. The only thing that I thought was weird was that I was already using argon to block out all of the air, and therefore the moisture, and I wasn't entirely sure where this hydrogen was coming from. I mean, it was possible that it was from the short period of time that it sat there in open air before solidifying, but I really didn't feel like that was the case. Either way though, if I wanted to make something that wasn't hideous, I was gonna have to somehow get all of the hydrogen out of the aluminum, and there were apparently many different ways to do this. So I decided to just try everything that I thought might work, and one method that I thought was really promising was to just include a bunch of table salt. However, again, most of the things that I tried totally failed, and after a week of frustration, I felt that I was left with only one real option. For this one, I was going to have to try and bubble some argon gas through the molten purple gold, instead of just using it to protect it from air. This was actually something that I'd been kind of avoiding, because even though it sounded relatively simple, it was kind of tricky, and I wasn't going to be able to just lower in my stainless steel tubing. This is because at 1200 C, the aluminum was way too angry, and it would just dissolve it, and I saw this happen firsthand when it dissolved one of my steel spatulas. So I was going to have to swap out my tubing for one with a different material, and unfortunately, there weren't many other options. I couldn't just use other metals because they would also probably get dissolved. I couldn't use glass because it would melt. And I couldn't use graphite because, as far as I can tell, small graphite tubes don't exist. After thinking about it for a while though, I started wondering if something like fused quartz might work, and I remembered that I actually had a bunch of small tubes that I'd gotten for free. Just by looking at them, they appeared to be pretty much the same as normal glass, except unlike normal glass, they were made with nearly 100% silicon dioxide. This would make
what the
them
fuck does that mean?
more resistant to high temperatures, and there should be almost no risk of it melting or cracking, and I really didn't see why it wouldn't work. I also had a lot of faith in fused quartz after I'd used some to burn diamonds, and it had survived being red hot under a flow of pure oxygen. So I decided to give it a chance, and I was really excited to get started, but then I realized that I actually had no gold left. This is because in all of my random attempts, I had apparently used all 99.99 grams of it.
No way.
And it was now just a bunch of random trash. This was kind of
melted.
A pain, but I didn't really have a choice.
Melted again. You
and
separated.
I just quickly redissolved it all in a bunch of acid, and I processed it in the same way as the original gold bar. Then after a couple days of work, I had some nice and crispy gold powder, except when I weighed it, it was only 95 grams.
Oh, you lost
this meant
4.
that I'd somehow lost about 5 grams of gold along the way, and this made no sense to me because I'd been extremely careful, and I thought that I'd collected absolutely everything.
You sanded it.
Either way,
You sanded it. It
finally
sticks to the
test out my
sandpaper. Damn it.
So I went back to my furnace, and I poured in all 95 grams of the gold that I just purified. This is because I didn't think that it could be done on a very small scale, and if I wanted to actually be able to bubble gas through it, I felt that I was going to need as much molten metal as possible. With all of the gold melted, I then carefully lowered in the quartz tube, and with it in place, I slowly opened the argon. Then on top of this, I dumped in the aluminum, which all quickly melted, and this time, I stirred it with a graphite rod. This was also what I should have been using from the beginning, because unlike my spatula, it wouldn't just dissolve, and when I eventually felt that it looked good, I lowered in the quartz tube.
I don't know about this
slowly
design,
increased
honestly.
the gas flow.
What should I do with the back?
My goal was to get it to bubble as much as possible without splashing too much, and the idea here was that the argon would carry the hydrogen out of the metal. To a certain degree, this would also help mix the gold and aluminum, and when I felt that it was going at a steady rate, I covered it with some insulation. I then had to leave it like this for a while to make sure that I got out as much of the hydrogen as possible, and based on what I read online, about 20 minutes seemed decent. So I basically just had to wait, and in the meantime, I went and got my mold, which was again, just a simple bar mold. This is because I had to make something that I could compare to the last one, and to see if this process had actually made a difference. But anyway, at this point, it had been about 20 minutes, so I started blasting the mold with the torch. Then, when I eventually felt that it looked nice and hot, I quickly took apart the whole degassing setup, and going as fast as I could, I poured it all into the mold. After that, I waited for it to cool down, and when it got to around room temperature, I popped it out of the mold,
Square
and I
one.
started cleaning it up. Almost immediately, it was already pretty clear that there was a major improvement, and even after very little sanding, it looked like most of the cracks were gone.
Ah,
I would
wow.
only really be able to know for sure once it was all nice and shiny, though, so I just kept on going, and many horribly painful hours later, I annealed it, and this was what I eventually had.
Oh, that looks pretty
Without
good.
even comparing it to the other bar, this one was clearly way better, and what I was extremely happy to see was that it didn't seem to be riddled with a bunch of small holes. To actually know how much better it was, though, I was going to have to
Is that
pull
the
up
first
a photo
bar?
of the old one,
No,
and
that's
the
the
moment that I
second bar.
saw it, the difference genuinely surprised me. It was actually somehow even uglier than I remembered, and it
Oh.
was pretty undeniable that the degassing
Oh,
step
the triple
had
phobia
made a
is crazy.
significant difference.
I mean,
I mean,
the
if
second
I
one
really
still had-
zoomed
yeah.
in, I could clearly see some very small holes, and it definitely wasn't perfect, but overall, I still thought that it was really nice, and I was very happy with how it turned out. The only thing that was still kind of off was the color, and just like the other bar,
how do I make
it
this
was
glow?
definitely more
That's
on
a
the
real
pink
question.
side.
Hold on.
However, as I mentioned a couple times earlier, it turned out that this was all just an annoying lighting issue. This was actually something that really messed with my head for a while, and it's honestly sad how long I spent staring at little pieces of metal and trying to compare their colors.
Ah,
What really settled things for me, though, was getting that pendant from Li Hua, which allowed me to compare my stuff to some professionally produced purple gold.
it's
I
not
also
bad.
started using a polarizer for my camera, which would let me remove some of the reflections, and suddenly, it was very clear that they were the same color. To me, this really showed that it was all just lighting, and I think that my bar is just a lot shinier or something, which makes it generally appear brighter. Color aside, though, at this point, I finally had what I felt was a decent way to make the purple gold, and after months of going in circles, this was a huge relief. However, I of course wasn't quite done yet, and the last thing that I still had to do was make my ring, which was the entire reason why I started this project.
Oh god.
The only concerning
ring.
part was that I still wasn't
All
entirely
that,
sure
and then
how
you
to
need to
do
make the
this,
ring.
and I was kind of
Now, how the
worried
fuck do you make a
that
ring?
I'd end up in another horrible pit of trial and error. To try and avoid this, though, I decided to go with the simplest method that I could think of,
$10.
and the first thing that I did was buy a ring sizer from Amazon.
What
I
the?
then tested a bunch of
Oh.
them to see which one fit my finger the best, and this was extremely important. This is because, as we saw before, the purple gold was completely non-malleable, and this meant that any cast that I made had to be almost perfectly pre-sized. With that being said, when I eventually found one
Yeah,
that I
one
thought
shot.
fit, I was able to make a super
On your
basic
index, really?
3D
Not your
design,
ring finger?
and
That's
now
crazy.
I just had to turn this into a mold.
It's called a ring finger for
With
a,
normal
for a
gold,
reason.
there
You
are
put a
few
ring on
common
it.
ways to do this, like with lost PLA casting, but I was worried that all of them would end up having issues with the purple gold. So instead, I decided the best idea was to just do it in a graphite
Should I
mold,
make this glow
which I
or
was
something?
now very
I
familiar
should totally
with,
make.
and I knew would
Worst layer
probably
is
work.
this?
The only tricky part was that I couldn't just buy a mold, and for it to perfectly fit my finger, it was gonna have to be custom made. In theory, I probably could have found someone online to do this for me, but instead I used this as an excuse to buy a CNC machine and to learn how to carve out my own graphite molds. This actually ended up being a lot of fun, even though it was sometimes a bit frustrating.
How the fuck do you
and
make
I can
this
now
glow?
make pretty much any graphite mold that I want. With that being said, for this project, all I had to do was make this super simple one, and with it now ready, I was finally able to try and make the ring. So again, I just quickly repurified all of the gold that wasn't used to make my big bar, and I remelted half of it in the furnace. I did this so I'd be able to get at least 2 attempts, and I was just hoping that 30 grams of gold and about 7 grams of aluminum would give enough volume for the degassing.
Let me guess, it wasn't
I then
enough.
let it sit there, and after about 15 minutes, I started blasting the mold with a torch, and I was eventually ready to try and pour it.
Let me see. How do I do the eyes? Where's
I was
the
honestly
eyes?
really
It's this
concerned
one.
that I would either completely
No, it's
miss,
not.
or
It's
that the
this
metal
one.
wouldn't flow through the entire thing, but it turned out to be totally fine. All I had to do now was wait for it to cool
Okay,
down.
let's try.
Except this part I was actually
is this-
more concerned
is it
about
this one?
because I knew that this was going to cause it to shrink. This was also a huge issue because this meant that the inner side of the ring would start contracting while the
Okay,
outer
hold
side
on.
of it would stretch. And
I have an
since the
idea.
purple gold
I need to
had
draw
no
fire
real
in this.
malleability or ductility, this would almost definitely cause it to break. To try and avoid this, I purposely angled the inner edges of the mold, hoping that as it contracted, it might pop itself out without cracking. At the same time, I genuinely believed that there was a narrow window of time where it was possible to manually remove it, and I just kept trying to pry it out. However, I apparently wasn't skilled enough, and it ended up just cracking itself in half.
Rip.
It just snapped.
Rip. It is what it is.
This was also really sad because the ring had actually molded super well, and now, unless I want to spend days repurifying everything again, I only had one last chance.
Super glue.
So I just anxiously whipped
Never
together
mind.
another batch, heated the mold red hot, and carefully poured everything in. This time though, there somehow wasn't enough metal to fill the entire mold, and at first I was sad about this, but it actually turned out to be a good thing. This is because it prevented the ring from fully connecting, so as it contracted, it didn't just squeeze down on the middle part and snap itself, and I was actually able to get it out of the mold. Huh.
Hold on.
What I had now wasn't
That's literally
exactly
my
what I was
reaction to
expecting,
everything.
and
Huh,
it kind of looked like a failed attempt, but at the same time, I felt that this different shape was kind of cool, and I decided to just go with it. I then spent the next couple of days sanding and grinding it, and this time I also used the Dremel, which made things a lot easier. The part that I actually had the most trouble with was just coming up with a design that I liked, and almost the entire time, I was really worried that it would turn out absolutely hideous. Eventually though, I was able to make something that I felt I was happy with, so I polished it up as best I could, and then annealed it, and this was the final result. It was honestly way nicer than I ever imagined
it's
it
not
would
bad.
be, and I kind of found it hard to believe
Now break it.
that I had actually done it.
Snap it in half.
I finally had my ring that was made entirely out of purple gold, and it was probably one of the only ones in existence, and after months of work, I think it was all worth it. What was also nice was that it wasn't nearly as fragile as I thought it would be, and even though I'm not going to test it, I don't think it would break if I dropped it. I also don't think that it would be a problem to casually wear it, as long as I'm careful, and I would probably just have to avoid accidentally slamming it into things. With all that being said though, when I first started this project, I was honestly really concerned that it would just be a total failure, especially because of all of the things that I had read online. However, it turned out that purple gold wasn't nearly as bad to work with as I thought, and with just a relatively simple setup, I definitely think that it's possible to make some nice jewelry. I also think that there's still a lot of room for improvement on the method that I used, and I already have a few ideas that I want to test out. For example, something that I really want to try is just using higher purity argon, which has less moisture in it, and I want to try swapping my quartz tubes for something like alumina. I'm also kind of tempted to completely switch to a different degassing method, like ultrasonic, and most importantly,
Ultrasonic
I think
mansion.
there are definitely some better ways to cast and mold it. For now though, I think I'm kind of tired of melting, casting, and grinding purple gold, and instead
That took
I'm going to
like,
work on some
what,
more
5 months?
tasty projects, like turning air into alcohol.
No way. That's crazy.
Okay, so in the end, this was probably the most tedious and frustrating project that I ever worked on, and what made it
Yeah,
even
that really
worse
sound.
was that I somehow kept on losing gold. I honestly still have no idea where it went, because I was really careful with everything.
It's on the
and I'm
sandpaper.
convinced that it just got evaporated or something with the aluminum. Either way though, I'm really happy that it's all finally done, and I want to give a big thanks to my patrons for
Actually,
making
it would be
projects like this
better
possible,
if.
and to Opera for sponsoring this video. I've been using Opera on desktop for a while now.
We're almost
and in
done.
my
Just need to draw the
opinion,
eyes.
it's still the best browser that I've ever
And
used.
I'll finish this up
Not
off
only is
stream.
it really fast and intuitive and loaded with a bunch of extra features, it also just got an update to its Lucid mode, which I think is pretty cool. This is because with just a click of a button, it's possible to immediately enhance any video, and now with this update, it's also possible to manually adjust the sharpness, and there's also a button to easily see a before and after. Besides Lucid mode though, another feature that I like is this sidebar, which I think is really useful. This is because it lets me easily access all of the social media that I often use, like Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram, and TikTok, and it even has an integrated music app where I can listen to things like Spotify and Apple Music. On top of all of this, they even have a built-in VPN service and an
Of course, the
ad blocker,
VPN.
as well as some integrated AI
You gotta have that
tools.
VPN. It's the
In
buzzword
particular,
of
they
the
have
past
Aria,
like
which is Opera's
5
native
years.
and completely free AI service, and it's similar to ChatGPT, except with even more features. It's also totally optional whether or not you want to use Aria, and it would only be activated if you choose to opt in. Besides all of these tools though, what I also really like is their Tab Island feature, which really helps me get all of my tabs under control, and this is especially useful when I'm doing research for a project. With that being said though, I've been having a really nice time just using Opera in general, and I still think that it's worth giving it a try for just the sidebar alone. It's also of course completely free to use, and you can download it right now.
You know what they
by
say,
clicking the link in
if
the
it's free,
description.
you're the product.
That's it. As usual, a big thanks goes out to all my supporters on Patreon. Everyone who supports me can see all my new videos at least 24 hours before I post them to YouTube. You'll also get access to all the older videos that I had to take down.
Okay,
and
okay,
if you
okay.
support me with $5
It's
or
not
more,
bad. It's not bad at
you'll
all.
get your name at the end like you see here.
I just have to figure out the glow later. Alright, that's it. Yeah, it's a pretty chill stream for today. I wish I could have like done something else. Oh well. It is what it is. Let me see. I don't think there's anyone I can raid. Fucking nice. I mean, it's not bad. I just need to like finish up. Like I need to like, I don't know, find a way to make like the design glow a little. Same thing with like right here as well. I'll figure it out. Anyway. Alright. Let's see. Is there anyone I can raid? Oh my god. Who is playing League of Legends? Ew, League of Legends. You know what? Let's go raid her. We're gonna raid her and then we're gonna say ew, League. Hold on. Hold on. /raid. Ooh. Well, soda. Alright. Alright. Yeah, honestly, thank you all for stopping by for the stream. Neat, Silence, Edrosa, Logan. Thanks for the raid, Logan. Thanks, Eddie, for fucking sticking by right till the end. Well, I don't know if you stuck through the whole stream, but yeah, isn't that bad? I'll have to, I don't know if this design, like this fire design should be like green or blue. I don't know. I'll figure that out. Like I said, I need to make this glow. I might redraw this part right here. It looks kind of shit. It doesn't match. I have to make this glow somehow. Probably make it brighter or something. Yeah. More shading may be needed. I don't know. I'll probably have to like redraw these lines right here. But anyway, that's it. Thanks for again. Thank you all for sticking by. And yeah. See you next time. Tomorrow. I'll figure out what to stream tomorrow. Maybe art. But yeah. See ya.